You are listening to the Knightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Knightline is brought to you by the Dever team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
All right, hello Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and this is Knightline 284.
Wow.
From the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Wow is right. With our last game here against the Cows, rivalry game did not disappoint. 46-39 win on Saturday. We've got a lot to talk about. I'll just say that. We got a very long Trey interview this week, where we talked to him about a bunch of stuff that's coming up later. But Roger, I guess I should say, what is it that I say? Joining me, as always,
Ben Stout.
And Roger Phipps. And on this week's show, the cows were put to pasture. On to the ship, the Knights gear up for a Tulane Redux. We go inside the huddle with Knightline's football analyst, Neal. We conduct our Hoops Rewind, the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week, and News and Notes.
You know that's not pronounced ducks, right? You know that's pronounced do.
Is it?
Yes. Redo.
Well, that's new to me.
It's just the Cajun way of spelling it. Okay. Anyway. All right. But it was a good throwing the Tulane Cajun stuff in there.
That was the
It's just
that was the
do,
try.
like go. What do they do?
I lobbed the softball and clearly I whiffed.
like go. They do GAUX or something like that for go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not gook. It's go. That's funny. Okay. Anyway, I was in New Orleans this weekend, so that's how I know that. Anyway,
and I'll be in New Orleans next weekend. So
yeah, exciting.
There you go.
Exciting. I'm glad that you're going to get to go to that game. That'll be fun. All right. Well, so there's this whole game that we need to talk about that happened last Saturday.
It was a game, all right.
Wow. It was a game, all right. I can say that I was in a hotel watching it in my room, and I'm sure the neighbors wondered what the hell was going on because my wife and I both were screaming. I was screaming at my wife at one point because she kept saying, "We're going to lose this game. We're going to lose this game. We're going to lose this game." And I'm like, "Shut up. Like, stay positive here. You got to stay positive. Come on. You know we've been through these things before."
Meanwhile, our text message thread is going off with memes about the volcano guy exploding and everything else is going on.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess we have to talk about this. I don't know how long we're going to talk about it, but we're going to talk about it. We talked about it with Trey a little bit, and we'll get to that. We went off into other things. But, Ben, since Roger and I have talked a little bit about this, so I want your initial thoughts on this game last week against the Cows.
Yeah, I mean, I think we started off the game great. Let's put it that way. I mean, I honestly, by the way we started off, I was like, yes, we're finally going to get it. We're finally going to get to avenge the 64-12 loss that we got in, I think, what was that, 2007 or something like that. whatever that horrible loss that we got back then. We were finally, I mean, I was ready to go for 100. I was like, I hope they never let off the gas. And, it's 28-0.
He's not joking. He said that in the,
yeah,
in the
I was like, let's go for 100.
Yeah.
I was like, do not stop. And man, did we go from thinking we're going to go for 100 to just being thankful that they, missed a field goal or didn't quite, get in the end zone, what seemed like about 5 minutes later. I mean, it's just unbelievable that in this game that we're up 28-0, and then all of a sudden at one point we're down 38-39, and it's just, 22
22-3 in the third quarter.
Yeah, 22-3 in the third quarter. I mean, that one is just, the way that they came out, and I will, give them a decent amount of credit. They made adjustments, especially offensively at halftime. I mean, we were a little bit on our heels. I think that when JRP went out, I mean, he was just so dynamic in the first half, and when he just kind of seems like he's just walking in for a touchdown there, and those non-contact injuries are always, ones to worry about. And you obviously, you could clearly see that it had to be his, it looked very clearly like it was his hamstring. You never know exactly what it was, in the moment. But, when you see him kind of come up gimping there and just limp off the field, it just seemed like, the wind kind of came out of our sails a bit when that happened, because it seemed like all of the energy from our entire team, not just our offense, seemed to be generated from what JRP was doing with the football. I mean, it was our running game as a whole, because certainly RJ Harvey was very dynamic in the first half, but really it just seemed like all of the energy from our team was being generated from what electric plays that JRP was kind of generating in that game. And when he went out, it was unfortunate to see this team not be able to quite recover, or take so long to recover from that. It just seemed like our energy was just sapped, and it's like we didn't even realize that we were up 28-0 and dominating this team. We just kind of just let them come back because we didn't have our playmaker at that point in the game. And once again, I'll say about JRP, I mean, it's just, man, when he is on, isn't he? I mean, he's just, when he is up, it is something special to watch.
Absolutely.
When he's down, it's about as frustrating as ever, because you know how good he can be.
Exactly.
I mean, 9 for 9.
Yeah. There's not a lot in between.
Just incredible. Yeah, it is. He is the most bipolar athlete that I can remember in a UCF uniform, especially on the football field. I just how high he is. And he's like, well, I don't want to really call it. I mean, he's like a more bipolar than like what Brandon Mahan would be on the basketball court sometimes.
We're not saying bipolar isn't mental or anything,
No, I just mean just his.
Yeah, we're just
so
saying
far on the opposite ends of the spectrum.
He's either one or the other. Yeah, I just want to clarify that so nobody gets upset.
Yeah, exactly. And one last thing I'll say is I think that's one of the reasons why, at least for me, I don't want to speak for you, Andrew. One of the reasons why I like the steady, even-keeled, kind of the way that Mikey Keene kind of plays the game, where you kind of at least know what you're going to get. But, man, John Rice, I can't say enough about him in that first half. He was just amazing, and it was just unfortunate to see us kind of, for a while, fall apart.
And I think that we've seen that all year long, and that's what's so frustrating about him being our starting quarterback, because he does so great in certain games and then is just terrible in other games. And it's like, it's just frustrating. You want somebody out there that is even keeled, and the quarterback needs to forget about making bad plays or bad throws, and he just doesn't. And that's just, maybe that's, not playing quarterback for a long time, or maybe that's why he wasn't playing quarterback. You never know. I don't know what happened in practice. I don't know what happened at Ole Miss for him to be playing wide receiver and, all that stuff. Maybe has something to do with it, I love the even keeled of Mikey Keene though.
Yeah.
And that
they
kid
could not stop him though in the first half. JRP was incredible.
Absolutely.
USF had no answer for him.
Right.
And
like other teams haven't either. Look at Temple. Temple didn't have any answer for him. Tulane didn't have any answer for him. The first time.
Yeah.
We'll see. I bet they're going to have an answer this time. Hopefully not. But we'll talk about that a little bit more later. Mikey Keene, though, came out and did what needed to be done and got it done, of course.
Oh, yeah.
I questioned it at a couple points. In fact, in the Trey interview, I said this earlier. I said to myself at one point during that game, probably in the fourth quarter, I was like, you know what? I thought for a little while. I said, Self, maybe it's better if we just don't win this game. Maybe it's better if we just end it right here and that be it for the year. It's just that kind of a year. Maybe it's just better. And then I thought, wait a second. Self, what the hell are you talking about? This is the Cows we're playing here. This is a rivalry game. It's the last time. This is the war on I-4. Shut the hell up. And and then I went, back to, we got to win this game. We have to win it. And then, a couple incredible throws. Of course, the holler catch, but also the throw by Mikey Keene to get that catch to holler as well. I know a couple people were like, oh, it was overthrown. He was throwing it away. No, he wasn't. That was a play that they had practiced. He put it where he could only get it. That was very intentional, what he was doing there. He threw a couple really great passes in that drive and won the game, period.
Yeah,
so,
and no bigger than I think, it was an incredible play on the ball and catch, and I know we'll get into it. I'm sure you guys got into it, Trey. It was an incredible play on the ball and catch by Javon Baker, but Mikey rolling out to his left and going across his body
on one foot
to throw that ball, just to get it down the field. His eyes were up the entire time, and he had some ground in front of him. He could have ran for the first down and kind of just kept the drive alive, but he saw Javon Baker kind of coming across the field, and he just said, I got to get it out to him. And I'll give him credit, he did, and Javon Baker just made a unbelievable play. That play by Javon Baker is going to get lost in the history of this game because of the holy holler.
Yeah, the holy holler, yeah.
But you don't have that Alec Holler catch probably without that play by Baker.
That's
that was
true.
an amazing catch.
Both of those
that drive
catches
was fantastic.
were amazing. Yes, both of those,
yeah.
And they both deserve equal credit. But the holy holler, that catch was and as a tight end, number one, and just to have the mental fortitude to put your foot down like he did, and he didn't even know he did it. He saw it on the replay. If you listen to him during his press conference, which he doesn't get a lot of those either. So it's really good. And that play was designed. Gus talked about it. Mikey talked about it. They all talked about it being a designed play like that. So that was a hell of a call at that time to get it done, because we could have easily gone down and made a couple more first downs and then just kicked it. But Gus had the balls that he has a lot, actually, to call a play like that and for it to work. If it wouldn't have worked, that's another story, but it did work. And everybody involved in that did a great job. So
yeah, and
Alec Holler is a legend now.
Legend
in
no
my
doubt.
eyes, an absolute legend. You do that in a rivalry game to win the game, and you are a UCF legend in my eyes. Period.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think to give Gus a little bit of credit as far as play calling goes. I mean, I think the first touchdown pass that Mikey Keene threw, I believe it was in the third quarter. I'm not exactly sure what time of the game it was, but it was that was probably one of the best play calls. Well, certainly the best offensive play call of the game, in my opinion. I mean, I just think him rolling out to his right, just at that moment, the defense had no idea what we were doing, and it was just a really good play call and really good throw by Mikey Keene to the back of the end zone there. But then just the play call again, like you just said, Andrew, to lead up to that catch by Holler was also a good one. I mean, it worked to to a T, and thank God the referees called the touchdown on the field.
That referee was looking right at him. I mean, he was right there. So.
It was the right call. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think.
But if they wouldn't have called it, if they would have called it incomplete, that would have been
right. It wouldn't have been enough
video
evidence to overturn that to a touchdown. I think, even though it was a touchdown. But yeah, just another barn burner with the Cows to close out this rivalry.
Did we lose, Roger? Roger, you still there? You're very quiet.
Sorry, I'm talking too much, Roger. You guys made me wait for an hour and a half. All right, I got a little pent up energy.
That Big Ben energy. Is that what we're seeing?
A little bit.
All right.
No, I mean, you guys were just riffing, so I was letting you go. And look, at the end of the day, this was to both your points. This was a game of extremes, right? So I wish people. Well, I don't wish, but in a way, I wish people could see our text thread because, we went from.
I don't.
I think it reflected what the fan base was going through. Right? It was like a roller coaster. I mean, you're geared up for the game. It's the last one. It's whatever. You're strapping in. You're pulling the little thing over your head, and you're waiting for it to, like the Hulk. You're waiting for it to shoot off. So it shoots off, and we get to the apex, which is 28-0, and then he gets hurt, and it's like, oh boy, what's going to happen here? And to your point, Ben, it's like. You see my notes. I know Andrew doesn't read them, but my thing on this was it was kind of like losing our swagger. That was the word that I used, right? And we were riding high. We had that confidence in us. We were going, and then it completely swung the other way. I mean, the Cows had the confidence, and they were feeling it. I mean, their coach this week. I don't know what's going to happen with him, but I will say this about him. His press conferences, I actually listened to his press conferences. That guy had a lot of emotion in this game, and I feel like the Cows in general.
He was playing for his job.
Yeah, well, no, he wasn't really playing for
his
job.
Job because he's interim.
Yeah. So, for him, what his big message to them was all week long was this is the last time we're all going to be together. Right. And they were very upfront. Everybody knows that the coaching staff's not going to be there. However, they wanted to rally around and make this their, I know this is overused, Super Bowl. And they did. Right. So they punched us in the mouth. And then what happened? This is something that's happened over and over with his team that I'm proud of. And the basketball team does this too. But fourth quarters, we seem to come to our senses in the fourth quarter, and we came out guns a-blazing with JRP, and he did his thing, and everything was going great, and then it was just dead. I mean, the game was dead, the momentum was dead. We were going to. Well, I'm not going to say that on this podcast. However, we were very angry as a group, and I think the whole group and the fan base as a whole was. But at the end of the day, we came back together Mikey Keene rallied on that last drive. Javon Baker, actually, he had another pass that Mikey Keene threw to him that he just slowed down to kind of like push off on the defender. And because of that, he missed it. That was another, that was a first down throw. He made that catch.
I don't want to interrupt you there, Roger, but I just want to make a comment on that pass because I said on their text thread, it felt like Javon Baker was like used to being underthrown, because if he just ran underneath that ball, that would have been a touchdown. I mean, it was just like he stopped on the play because he thought the ball was going to be underthrown, even though it was thrown really well by Mikey there. It was crazy to see a receiver do that, to make an adjustment that actually wasn't there just based on past experience. It was just kind of wild to see that. I mean, it was a well-thrown ball that he unfortunately just stopped on.
Yeah. That happens sometimes. You get rhythm with one quarterback and you're looking to do one thing, and then you have the other quarterback that does, throws it correctly or whatever,
Right.
So it happens. And you saw it right there. You saw the difference between quarterbacks and what the receivers have to do sometimes. Perfect example.
And then at the end of the day, look, what was the end result of this game, right? One, we buried the cows. And if anything, it was, look, I wanted Ben's prediction to come true from last week, 52-10. It didn't. We were on our way, but it didn't.
Yeah, I wanted 100 and nothing after that first couple, after 28 zip.
I almost wonder.
Ben was feeling it.
I almost wonder if our guys got in their own heads, and got overconfident, and then all of a sudden, whoa, hold on, maybe we're not doing so great. You know what I'm saying? 28-0. You feel like you're going to win that game when it's 28-0. I wonder if the guys kind of let their foot off the gas just for the wrong time, just long enough, and then they're like, oh, crap, I don't know. Something happened.
Well, I'm not sure if they let their foot off the gas offensively. I think they did I think they did. I think they were there offensively, but a lot of stuff happened in the second half, fumbles and stuff that put us in bad positions, et cetera,
and that was
that
weird
led to quick
too.
Scores.
I was almost thinking like,
for sure.
Like, what's going on? Why aren't they able to hang on to the freaking ball? Like, I know it was, where I was, it was misting, it was like foggy and misting. I don't know if it was like that there, but, and I thought at one point, I'm like, is USF, have they put something on the ball? Like, are they doctoring the balls? Like, yeah, like Vaseline, or whatever, like some petroleum jelly. Like, what have they done? Have they put something on the ball, like, to make, you never know. We were talking about it last week. There's been all kinds of stuff that's happened during these games. There's been tires slashed. There's been, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
I actually started thinking that 3 fumbles in a row or whatever, 2 in a row, 3 in a row, whatever it was.
2 in a row,
it was enough.
Then 1 score, and then another fumble.
Yeah, but it was like, I'm like, what's going on? Another thing I do want to say, and I say this later on during the section of the show, but I want to say it again because I want everybody to hear it. USF, the Cows, are better than a 1-10 team.
No doubt.
They are. Just like
not defensively.
Just in general, they're better than a 1-10 team. They've played a lot of games really hard. It just hasn't gone their way. They haven't had, the intestinal fortitude or whatever it takes, the heart to win a lot of these games. Just like we have experienced with an 0-12 team. It's the same thing. Those players out there are capable of winning. Just for some reason, they haven't been able to push it over the hump this year. So I do want to say that. And I hate to say that about the Cows. I do. But It's true. You're not
saying that about 3 players, really.
No, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm saying it about the team. The team is not a 1-10 team. They're better than that. Most teams are better than that. I'm just saying that they showed during this game and some other games. I'm not defending them, but I'm saying that they're better than their record shows. So
yeah, I'll agree with you, and I'll also just to comment on what Roger said about the coach of USF, and forgive me, I don't know if you guys know his name, but I don't.
have no idea what his name is.
But that's okay. We don't
no
need to.
idea
He'll be on another staff. Yeah. So I will say though, I do appreciate where the coach is getting his team up for this game, like helping his players understand like what this game means to them, not only because they're trying to finish out this run together, on a high note, obviously, but he's helping them understand who the opponent is, right? Like what a win against UCF would mean to them. And so I appreciate what he brought from the sidelines out to the field.
Absolutely.
With his demeanor, because you could really tell he was trying to instill in his players, and you shouldn't need to necessarily, because obviously the players, half of them grew up together, like playing against each other or whatever. There's that rivalry feel in the game, but I do appreciate when I see both sides like truly take meaning to this game. Like it's not just another game. It's just not. I mean, when we play against those guys from West Central Florida. I mean,
the directionally challenged school.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, I don't know if in the moment I would have blamed him, but I don't know if I could have ever forgiven Gus Malzahn. And it might not have even been his fault if we lost that game. I mean, he didn't fumble the ball 3 times, but the thing is, I don't think I would have ever forgiven this coaching staff if we lost this game. It would have been that tragic. I wouldn't have. I told my wife yesterday, I said, thank God we won that game last night, because I would have been horrible to deal with for weeks. I just, thank God we won. Thank God we won. It's just the way it goes.
I was confident that we were going to win the game, except for that one moment that I told you all about. I was confident that we were going to win the game somehow. It's the Cardiac Knights. We've been through this time and time again, and usually we come out on top of things like that, and luckily we did, because same for me. I'm still worn out from it, but mentally, but yeah, I would have been really. This show would not have been fun, probably. Maybe it would have been funny, but
it would have been awful.
So on a lighter note, we leave 2 fan bases heartbroken this week by winning this game. One, the Cows, obviously, because they thought they had a chance, and we took that from them. But also the Cincinnati Bearcats, or Bear Kittens, as we like to call them on the show.
As you like to call them.
They also lost the opportunity to go to the AAC championship, and they lost their coach this week. So, and they're losing 4-star recruits, and there's some flips in the work. And
is Phegley going someplace?
Yeah, he's going to Wisconsin. Whiskey.
That's already said and done?
Yeah, he accepted the job.
Why have I not heard about this?
I have no idea.
That's
It's
weird.
been everywhere. He flew in with the jet. They took a video of his family getting off the plane.
Really? The whole deal?
Yeah,
Wow.
the whole deal.
That's interesting.
Yeah, Wisconsin
Didn't
videoed
see that
it and
coming.
put it out there for everybody to see. So with some weird music that was attached to the video. However, we managed to break 2 teams in one game. So there's a win there, and there's actually some players from both of those teams that are looking to transfer. So I'm hoping we pick up Horn. That's, he took all of his Cow paraphernalia off of his Twitter account, and linebacker Antonio Greer was hanging out with our guys yesterday, and was posted on Twitter hanging out with our guys yesterday, who's their leading tackler. So I'm thinking there may be some additional, beyond the heartache, there was heartbreak, and we might get some additional value out of this win outside of the actual win itself.
Yeah, I don't know much about Greer, but I do know that we have some good success of taking linebackers from FCS schools, so he'll be another one. That'll be good.
He said FCS.
That's right. I did.
I don't think they ever played at FCS.
Little dig on the way out the door there for our former or an always number 2 little brothers from the West.
What'd you say about FCS, Roger?
I'd made a joke that we had success if some linebacker from USF comes over to us. We have had success on taking linebackers from FCS schools.
Well, that's the only team that they beat this year. They only beat an FCS school.
That's right.
So
what was that, like Howard or somebody?
Something like that. Yeah, something that doesn't matter.
Well, I will say this: both teams, as much as we've been bagging on this, both teams played a heck of a game. I mean, both quarterbacks, both Mikey Keene and JRP, as you were alluding to earlier. I mean, between both of them, 82.76% completion percentage this week. Not to mention, we put 547 yards. They put 438 yards up. We had 345 yards rushing. It's very tough to beat a team if you've got 345 yards rushing, but they put up 298. So to me, this week was which defense was going to do enough. Because, at the end of the day, we got those turnovers early, but they also got turnovers, right? They got the 3 fumbles. We got 2 fumbles and an interception. So both teams played really, really close. We had 4 more first downs than them. We converted on 88% of our third downs versus their 44. And they were 4 of 9, but they had 2 fourth downs converted. So, this rivalry games are rivalry games. We all said this going into this game. Like, Andrew had his spidey senses on extra high. Ben obviously didn't with that 52-10 call.
I did at the beginning. I was looking like a prophet again.
And then it happened. But I will say this, at the end of the day, look, both of these teams played really, really well. And Byron Brown, who's their quarterback, and we talk about this with Trey a little bit, that guy, if he sticks around USF, the Cows, Moo, he's going to wipe the floor with a lot of teams, former Conference USA teams that are now going to be AAC teams.
He'll do great I was about to say he'll do great in Conference USA.
But he did good against us. I mean, the last 2 weeks he's been stellar. I was very impressed by him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That is not a 1 in 10 team. So
Now, the funny thing about it was, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but the symbol, I don't know if we have a closet UCF fan that works at Tampa at the stadium that they rent from the Buccaneers, but the bull symbol was actually upside down, both on the field goal post and the goal line marker. That was not a mistake. They did that on purpose. So I don't know how we got in there and did that, but somebody clearly is a UCF fan. And I think that set up everything for this game and kind of shows, we've talked about whether we should continue this or not, but that shows you the depth of this rivalry, along with people pulling helmets off on the sideline. I mean, what did you guys think about that? Because for me, like, that was ridiculous that our entire team, I understand why the referees did it, but Beatty should have been ejected at that point because he's the one who pulled the helmet from Kobe Perry. What did you guys think about all that?
Well, first of all, our guys shouldn't have hit the guy late on their sideline. If you're going to do something like that, you do that on our sideline. That's just the way that it's supposed to work. That's stupid to hit somebody late on their sideline. You're just asking for what happened to happen. You do that on our sideline, and then we play games. We knew that it was going to be chippy anyway. So,
Yeah, that play was pretty wild. It was a late hit. It was an obvious call for the referees to make. I mean, and I was just pissed at that.
Yeah.
I was real upset about that. And that we did that penalty, and then all of a sudden,
did you expect anything different from their sideline though? Did you really expect anything different? Yeah. So that's why I'm saying you do that on our sideline.
I didn't expect anything different from them, but I expected something different from the refs. I expected that even if they were going to call, because the reason they called what they called was to basically put both sidelines on notice, right? Because I can tell you this right now. Ryan O'Keefe, he went out of bounds, and I don't know if you watched it. There was a lot of jawing going on. It was like in the second quarter. They were doing a little extra twisting on the ankle, and that wasn't called. I mean, there was a lot of stuff.
Man, dude, the things that happen in the bottom of freaking pylons.
It wasn't on the bottom of the pile.
I know,
this was him
but
flying out of bounds.
I understand. I know. They were twisting his ankle. That happens all the time. You just don't see it.
No, I know it is.
All the time.
But my point is if you're getting to the point where you're pulling somebody's helmet off on the other sideline, you're getting ready to punch somebody. You see these guys when they get into fights, what do? They punch helmets and whatever. They were trying to hurt him. And there were two guys over there. Two of our guys.
Yeah, as soon as I saw them retaliate after the late hit, you guys know from the text, I was a little bit, I'll be honest, a little bit relieved. As long as no one got hurt on our end, I was a little bit relieved to see them act like idiots, on the sideline and get into that scrum. Wasn't surprised to see them get into that scrum at all, but as soon as I saw them kind of do that on the sideline, I was like, all right, it feels like this is going to be a wash. I just hope none of our players get ejected. And when you think about it, while they did penalize, I guess, our whole team, or I don't know what it was, but
both teams.
They basically penalized.
I don't know how far that would have actually gone. I know one player get ejected?
That was for targeting.
Kobe Perry,
right? Kobe Perry.
Yeah.
I don't know about that being a targeting call, but he got
technically,
ejected
if
for targeting
anybody else
later
would
in the
have
game.
gotten a personal foul, period, no matter what it was, they would have gotten ejected because it would have been their second.
Is that what that means? Similar
Yes.
to technicals in basketball.
So in the last
then
couple of
obviously,
years, college football has made it where if you get two personal fouls in a game, you're ejected. So what the ref staff did basically was put everybody on notice. I think, Roger, you said that. Or somebody.
Exactly.
So that makes that a lot more significant, yes.
Yeah, but I don't know. That I think it was, I thought, because they did everybody, both teams. They called a personal foul on everybody on both teams. I think that would have caused a lot of trouble if they would have actually enforced some of that stuff. Because I don't know if you can do that. I don't know if you can do that on sidelines. Players that aren't even playing in the game got a personal foul.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I thought that was overreaching quite a bit, to be honest with you.
Especially when you think that this is it for the Cows, and UCF has something to play for after this game. And so if that personal foul that you just discussed, happened in the second half, then all of a sudden that's affecting the next game. So that penalty on the entire team on both sidelines actually hurts UCF way more when you think about it that way. But
there
all
probably
that being said,
should have been some players ejected from that because there were some punches thrown.
Right.
But I think that they lost track of everything. They couldn't figure out who did all this stuff. They would have literally had to go back and watch it on replay to call out the guys that actually were the ones. So they were just like, whatever, we'll just do this. I don't think they saw everything that happened. So that was their easy way to get out of it, and I think it would have caused a lot of trouble.
I agree with that, but to your point, to both your points, honestly, and my point too, is like you could have impacted the game. You could have impacted the game. And by extension, you could, especially as close as this one was, you could have impacted not only the game, but the championship. And, I wasn't happy with the reffing this entire time. I mean, looking back at it, it was a lot worse when I was watching it than what it was after the fact because they didn't really penalize either team, right?
Well, they were letting them play for the most part.
Yeah.
But then when it got out of hand, because that could have gotten out of hand really a lot worse than it did. That could have been like a big deal. And who knows if there was chippiness before the game, like in pregame or anything like that. There probably was. There was probably a lot of shit talking out there. I'm sorry I said that, but whatever.
Beatty was one of them.
He
was talking on every play.
There was probably a lot of people talking on every play, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's pretty normal anyway, for there to be a lot of talking. So it just was probably a lot more, and the refs were hearing it the entire time out there. The refs can hear what you're saying, and you've seen penalties called on players that say something they're not supposed to. One of those, they're even around a referee, and you see a random flag go up, and some guy get a personal foul. It's because he said something stupid. Probably, I don't know what they said, but I've heard some really bad stuff come out of players' mouths in college football games. I can tell you that, and some bad stuff's come out of my mouth too when I played. So,
well, I can tell you this,
and the refs hear it.
The one person that backed it up was Hodges on that big hit on Brown during that flea flicker. Do you guys remember that hit?
That was, it was huge, huge play.
I mean, perfectly timed. As a defensive person, and Andrew, I think, would feel this, and I wish I would have brought it up with Trey. He, when he caused that fumble, that hit was literally textbook and perfectly timed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a great hit. I remember.
Yeah, if you can, that's the kind of hit you take on film and you show high school players and you say, this is exactly what you're supposed to do. And we always talk about separating the player from the ball. I mean, he could not have timed that any more perfectly.
Yep, did his job.
I mean, we have been talking about Justin Hodges kind of being the unsung hero of this defense all season. I mean, we've mentioned it numerous times throughout the year, is just how he makes plays in the right moments in the game, sometimes that even go unnoticed, that are big plays for this defense, whether it's opening up something, occupying a man, or just a big deflection. But his interception in that game, his forced fumble in that game, I mean, the big hits that he had, he was definitely special and came up huge when we needed him in key moments in this game. And that's, I mean, even when, I know it sounds kind of funny to say, but I mean, we're up 28-0 there, but JRP is kind of hobbling on the sideline, and you need another big play, and all of a sudden, that was when he got his interception there. Just kind of that deflection. He made sure he was in the right spot and got the interception. So Justin Hodges all year has just, really been solid for this defense as kind of a versatile player that he is, and this game was a huge example of that.
Yeah.
So, on the offensive side of the ball, you guys mentioned the holy holler, right? There's been a bit of a debate going on. JJ's catch versus Holy Holler, which one is
not even close?
All right. Well, let's hear it. I've expressed
I agree with Trey what he said about it, that JJ's catch was more important at the time. But they're just different. It was a longer throw to JJ, blah blah blah. But this one won the freaking war on I-4, So I don't know which one was more important, blah, blah, blah.
Well, one of the things I said after the game that struck me about both of those catches is actually how similar kind of situationally they were. Obviously the 12, going 12-1, winning the Fiesta Bowl was, something that had never been done here before, and it was just a special season overall. But when you think about the opponent in Temple that year, I mean, we were supposed to go into Temple and just annihilate them that year. I mean, right. We were supposed to just kill them. I mean, they were not a very good football team. And same thing this week. I mean, going against, on paper at least, a much, much less, lesser than us football team, with a chance to still attain something special in this season, right? So it struck me that both of those catches were to win games against lesser opponents, to keep a potentially special season alive. Obviously, we know how the 2013 season turned out. It was a special season. This one remains to be seen, and it actually goes back. I actually go back to saying what we said to each other on this podcast after, I believe, the Cincinnati win, where we called it, just an absolute huge win. All the circumstances were incredible, and it was just a really big win for our program. And Roger you pointed out that it depends on what happens moving forward, right? And so when you think about J.J. Wharton's catch, you think about the Hale Perriman. Those were to win. I mean, those were to either keep a championship season alive, or in the case of Perriman, to win a championship. And the Holy Holler was certainly able to keep our season alive, but if the season doesn't wind up in a championship, I'm not sure quite where it ranks.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. I mean, Gus took a gamble on that play, number one, but he didn't take two. It was a calculated gamble, because if he drops the pass, that's fine. We run out the clock and kick the field goal, right? To me, when I look at this, I look at it from a technical aspect of it. And, Holler's grab, I hate even comparing it, really, because they were both amazing athletic plays. And Holler, I love. I saw this tweet today, and it was Holler in the stands during the 2015 season, and he's holding up a sign as a kid that says,
"That was his brother," but that's actually
was it his brother?
But yeah.
Oh, okay. They said it was him. All right, but either way, because he and his brother were both UCF fans. But basically, It said, "I'd rather be 0-11 than and they slashed out and put 0-12 than have a cow degree." Right. So that's how deep this runs for this family, right? And for him, that has to be coming on as a walk-on and getting a scholarship, earning a scholarship, and having that grab. I mean, that has to be huge for him. However, technically, from my perspective, you look at JJ, the picture of what JJ's doing when he's fully extended and literally has his fingertips on the ball and brings it in. That year he won the ESPY and all this other stuff. How difficult that is versus what Holler did. Holler is extremely difficult, but I still think, for me, the pantheon, JJ's catch over Holler's grab.
The catch.
Yeah, the catch.
Yeah.
The catch over Holy Holler.
I didn't realize, believe it or not, in the moment, I did not realize that it was a one-handed catch. The Holler's catch.
Mm-hmm.
I literally I was watching the press conference, and somebody was like, "Yeah, one-handed," and I'm like, "What?" I actually literally went back and watched that catch, because I just obviously I was screaming at the top of my lungs and jumping all around when he made the catch. So I saw that he caught it, and I was so focused on the foot and everything and the replays and all that, I didn't even notice that it was a one-handed catch. until like after. So
yeah, full extension.
Yeah,
it was
it was great.
And twisted his body.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I wasn't even paying attention to that. That's how in the moment it was, and I was focused on that foot. They kept replaying it. I didn't even watch the rest of it. I was looking at his foot the entire freaking time. It was funny. I was like, wow.
I can tell you this. Anybody who said it wasn't a catch, the referee got it 100% right. I posted a couple of stills that were taken from different angles than what the TV was showing. His foot 100% dragged before his knee touched the ground.
You could see it. There was a mark on the turf. It pulled up the rubber off the freaking turf. You could fully see it.
I'm not disagreeing with
that
you.
That referee was standing right there and saw
that.
Well, those people are stupid. So
whatever. I mean, we had some. Well, they're USF fans, so I mean, their judgments already.
If they're not, they're still stupid.
Yeah.
Whatever. I have no problem saying that.
Yeah, but certainly, there were some definite questionable calls, especially in the second half.
Kick.
But that's one. Well,
that was not supposed
by the referees.
The squib
I meant
kick
by the referees.
It was not supposed to be like that.
No, it was supposed to be an actual squib kick.
Yeah, he clearly did not get his foot under the ball. So, yeah, let's put that to bed.
And I will say this, during the game, and all three of us, other than me, also, and I also questioned, the call of a squib kick. But going back after the emotions of the game were gone, that was the right call by Gus. So anybody who's questioning that, because I saw that was 100% the right call to try to get more clock.
I don't know if you hear me like deep sighs over here.
No.
But like seriously, there's a bunch of people online, and this is social media has ruined a lot of stuff. It's ruining football at this point, to be honest with you. Like, I don't even want to be on social media for like 3 days after the game. Because people are idiots. Like, absolute freaking idiots in the things that they say on social media during football games and after football games. It's just like, social media has ruined a lot of things. And I'm almost done with all of it.
Well, I will say this. I mean, in the moment, we all say idiotic things because all of us were...
Not in public.
No, I agree.
We say idiotic things in our little chat. We don't post them on the internet in Facebook groups and on Twitter for everybody to read. People must think that our fans are the dumbest freaking fans in college football with the crap that we say. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely... Fire the coach. Fire him. He needs to be fired. Really? After getting our team to the freaking championship game? Like, do people realize how college football or any football works by the stuff that they're saying? Like, it's so stupid. And my reply to people is your ignorance is showing. That's what I've said that. That's what I'm going to say. It's freaking ridiculous. Like, I understand that people don't understand the game. This stuff bothers me so much. One guy on Knights football, the UCF Knights football group, which for some reason comes up on my Facebook feed more than anything else. There were a couple things in here that he said that I don't like, but there were a couple things that he did say that I do like. And I'm going to call him out by name. Frankie Molino, I think is his name. I'm sorry if it's wrong. You're probably not listening anyway, but whatever. I'm still saying that what you said for the most part is correct. And we can talk about this if we want to. I took a screenshot of this when I read it because this is what our fan base needs to hear, in my opinion. This guy said it pretty good. There's one thing in here that he said, and he's a jackass for saying that. But I'm going to read it. I'm going to break this down for people that want to fire Gus. So far, he's coached 2 seasons, and he's 18-7. Season 1, 9-4, beats Florida in a bowl game. Season 2, 9-3, makes the conference championship. We will play in a bowl game. He's done that. He's done this with still trying to turn over the roster that it has players on his team still. I don't know if there may be a couple from Frost still, but for Heupel who didn't have good recruiting classes. Flaws about Gus. Loses to Navy and Louisville twice and has a bad loss against East Carolina. Okay, I understand the frustration there, but even if this team went 12-0 this year, they would have still. See, this is the part. They would still play for a conference title and play in a New Year's Six bowl game. And even with the 3 losses, that's still in reach, which is pretty rare for a 3-loss team. First of all, we're ranked. This guy didn't say that. I'm saying this now.
That's never happened.
For anyone, right? Any group of 5
Any group of 5 team, yes.
Has never had 3 losses and still been ranked.
And still been in the college football playoff rankings, period.
Right.
So that's a plus. He said, like it or not, this program is actually improving, given the circumstances that Gus walked into. Another side note, 2020 was a bad year. 6-7 record in the incoming recruiting class was bad. Whatever. With an 18-7 record in 2 seasons and playing for a conference championship, Gus will be here till at least 2025 when his contract expires, or even beyond that. So get used to it because he's going to be around, like it or not. I like what this guy said. This isn't the other. There was another guy that said. So I'm sorry that I called you a jackass because. This wasn't the guy that said the jackass thing. There was another guy that had a really good thing like this, but then called us a second-tier team, and that's what I thought it was this guy, but it wasn't. But I like what this guy said. He broke it down there, and a lot of people. This was right after the game when everybody was like, fire him, he sucks, fire him. It's just ridiculous that we're talking about firing a coach that, number 1, beat Florida for the first time in a bowl game, and number 2, got us in his second year to the conference championship. Even if we don't win the conference championship game, we're at least there when we shouldn't be, to be honest with you, with those 3 losses because they were horrible. I just, people need to freaking chill and learn the game if you want to spout off about it.
Now, I will say this.
Learn the game.
I still think ECU was a byproduct of cheating, but
even if it
I'm
was,
put an asterisk
whatever
on that one.
Yeah, even if it was, we'll never be able to prove that. But just, oh my god.
Well, I think
go
ahead.
No, I just hate hearing this. I hate getting on social media and everybody, like, if you don't know enough about the game, don't comment at all. If you don't know enough about politics, don't comment at all. Whatever it is out there that you want to comment on, at least know what the hell you're talking about before you comment on it. That's what I want to say to everybody that's listening. Just use your brain and think for a second before you post, because you're ruining life in general with social media. Seriously. That's my rant.
So one of the main
I'm glad I
things
have this platform for my rant, by the way.
Yeah, man.
Thank you very much for listening.
That was a good grind your gears segment right there. I like it.
Dude, that has been building up for so long.
That's been pent up for a while. I get that.
I'm sorry. It may have been illiterate sounding or whatever, but I'm over it. I'm done listening to, and I'm just going to not be on social media when, for games. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to look at it. There's going to be a 3-day rule from now on for me. I'm not even, and it's not just our fans. It's a lot of different fans, but ours are particularly remember when they said on College Game Day or multiple broadcasts, they said, oh, the UCF fans are very educated and they really know what they're talking about. That is gone. It's gone. It used to be like that. I don't know what has happened, but maybe it's new people coming in and never watched college football before or never watched football in general before. It just feels like everybody thinks they can say whatever they want on social media now because no one will punch them in the face. And, like, keyboard warriors, George O'Leary, was the greatest faceless internet weasels. Like, it's the same stuff. And it's ruining everything. Social media is ruining everything, in my opinion. I love it, but I hate it all at the same time. I want it to be back like it was, where you went on there to look at your friends' pictures of their freaking kids at Thanksgiving or their first day of school or whatever, instead of everybody thinking they know everything and wanting to post about it on social media and then just looking stupid. So, all right, I'm done.
I think just to...
I feel a lot better.
Try to put it.
I feel a lot better.
I'm glad.
Like a weight has been lifted off of my chest.
I am glad,
and I don't care what anybody thinks about it.
The main comment that I'll make on that is the thought of the default. I would say the default comment of "let's fire the coach." is the one that's always bothered me, especially
and I've been guilty of it
like
before.
This.
I have.
I think the default comment of "let's fire the coach" has been a rough one for me to always handle, no matter what the what the sport is. Certainly, if it's a UCF thing, or college in general, but certainly UCF thing, it's been a tough one for me to say so quickly. Now, I said it earlier on, and whether it was his fault or not, like, I would have just been angry at this coaching staff had we lost this game, but I would have just been angry in general.
But I doubt you would have said that you wanted Gus Malzahn fired.
No, because that's just not a default reaction that I have. I mean, it's because I look at a coach, especially a college football coach, college sports coach in general, as building a program. And I think that individual that you quoted on the UCF Facebook page, did a good job of trying to kind of laying it out. But, some other things that we've certainly seen with Gus is he seems to have already, really gotten some big recruits, and more, even better recruits are coming.
Yeah.
He certainly had success in getting some guys in the transfer portal. I mean, he just seems like he's just getting started, and to have a hubris as a UCF fan base, only 6 years removed from 7 years removed from a winless season to have the hubris to say that we and anybody who knows the resources that we have or lack thereof that we have to work with as a university to say something as crazy as let's fire Gus Malzahn, and what the implications of us actually doing that would mean for UCF is pretty wild.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
people need to do some research as to who Gus Malzahn is if they don't know. If they just know him as the UCF coach, they need to go back a little bit and do your homework. Figure out, what he's done in his coaching career and why he's so highly, appreciated in most, maybe not the Auburn fans. I know the Auburn fans got whatever.
They would take him back in a heartbeat. They would
they would.
Right now. They would give him a 10-year contract right now.
Of course they would. Of course they would. But every coach has their nuances about them that fans don't like. There's players probably don't like. There's always something, but come on, the guy has a ring, oh my God, you don't, and the resources that it would take to fire a guy like that, I think is what you were talking about. Yeah. I mean,
like
he doesn't. He's not doing this for the money. He's not doing it for the money, people. Like, he's got more than enough money. He could never coach another day in his life, and he will be fine. Trust me. Auburn is still paying him and will be paying him for probably 20 years.
War Eagle on that. Thanks a lot, Auburn.
Hell yeah. I believe that this worked out for the better for us. Heupel left, and we got Gus Malzahn. I mean, Lord have mercy. That was one of the best, like, whatever time frame that happened in. That was awesome. Oh, Lord have mercy. It's just, I'm sorry, y'all. Roger, did you leave us again, or you just?
Nope, I'm just waiting to transition to Tulane.
Get disconnected. We should probably take a break. I've been running my mouth for an hour. We've all been talking, but thank you for letting me get that off my chest. It's just a thing that I have with social media, period. I'm so tired of it. I don't know. I'm getting old or something. Who knows? Old and even more crotchety. All right.
Old man yells at cloud. That's the last part of the segment. So
yeah.
Or cow. One of the two.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's take a break. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices, Altamont Springs.
Looking for more out of your Porsche? Look no further than Flat6Motorsports.com. They have the widest selection of aftermarket Porsche parts anywhere in the world. With over 85 product lines and in-depth expertise, Flat6Motorsports.com is your one-stop shop for any Porsche performance needs. Whether you're shopping for intakes, exhausts, suspension, or tuning, they have you covered. Flat6Motorsports.com is the premier Porsche aftermarket specialist. Check them out at Flat6Motorsports.com. All right, let's move on to, I don't know what else. Do you guys want to rehash that game for another hour, or can we move on and talk about?
No, let's briefly touch on Tulane. I mean, we did a background on them like 2 weeks ago, so there's not much else to say. We all know who they are and who we are and whatnot. I mean, there's not really much else to say other than we talked about the Georgia Tech rumors with Trey, so we can leave that be.
Well, no, now that you mentioned it, you have to fill everybody in and tell them what you're talking about, because they're not going to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise, a lot of smoke around Willie Fritz, or Slick Willie Fritz, going to Georgia Tech. He was actually most of his press conference today for this game. There were 4 questions out of the maybe 12 that were on his potential moving to Georgia Tech as a head coach. There were reports that he's interviewed for the head coaching job to Georgia Tech. And I mean, it makes a lot of sense. He won at a place that has tough academic standards, which is the same thing Georgia Tech has. And, you know, we really kind of go in depth on how that affects the team with Trey. So I won't say too much about that. But that is hanging over the head of the team, because no matter what, whether he takes the job or doesn't, whether they work it out or not, that's background noise that's all over social media and being reported by
another reason why social media should not exist.
Well, there you go. So at the end of the day, it's background noise that the players are seeing. So, you know, there's a question as to how that affects the team, and you know, we talk about that with Trey. So, you know, the big thing for me in this game is, you know, we had a lot of success with JRP on the first game, and our offensive line and our defensive lines really did a great job in the first game. Will they be able to replicate that? And really, how can we handle a full game of Tajay Spears? Because he is their bell cow. They want to run the ball with him. And, something we've all talked about throughout the season has been our ability to control the edges. And that's where he makes his money is, he's an east-west running back. He's not a smash mouth, go through the A-gap type of running back. So, what kind of effect will this have on the game? Beating anybody twice on the road, especially within 2 weeks, two ranked teams, and playing them on the road twice, it's going to be difficult. I'm going to be there for it no matter what. Perry will be out the first half. I don't know how much of a influence that will have, but I think the biggest thing is, will JRP play? We talked about his hammy versus the Cows, and other big news is Mikey said, and this might be a good time for you to cue up that clip that you have about his news about his red shirt. So do you want to play that?
Sure. Thanks for setting that up. All right, so the first question is asked by Jason Beatty for the Sentinel, and he asks basically, you'll hear what he asks. It's a little hard to hear. The second question is from Brandon Helwig from UCFsports.com.
Coach Malzahn said John Rice is dealing with a hamstring injury. This was your fourth appearance of the season. Is that something you think about in terms of your red shirt at all?
You know what? No, because ultimately I just want to play and win games and do whatever I can to help this team win. So that's nothing that's on my mind right now. We're going to a championship. That's what's on my mind.
So John Rice can't go next week. You're perfectly fine to play your fifth game and may potentially burn a red shirt?
Yeah, let's go win a championship.
All right, let's go win a championship. That's what my quarterback says. And that's what I want my quarterback to say, no matter what. And we went through this whole thing. Roger, we talked about this I don't know how many times during this season. And that's what I wanted him to say, and that's what I expected him to say. And I'm glad he said it.
Yeah, I mean, expected him to say is I think the right, the right way to put that. I mean, if you have any lick of sense in your head, you understand that I don't care what university you're at, championships and the opportunity to play for championships is rare. It is not easy to be in a championship game and have the opportunity to be in it. That's not something that just comes around every single season, despite some of the fans that you read it about on our social media pages.
And we talk about this with Trey as well. That whole thing. So
yeah, and so while we've had a decent amount of opportunities over the last number of years, I mean, everybody, any athlete understands that it's never something that you should take for granted. And whatever Mikey Keene decides to do after this season is over, completely over, whatever he decides to do doesn't mean, and if that decision is to move on to another school, then the opportunity to play for a conference or any type of championship at that school is absolutely not guaranteed. So he answered that question the way that we would absolutely expect him to answer, but I think he answered it so quickly because it was so truthfully for him. It was just a complete honest moment because who wouldn't ever want to be the guy in that situation? And he's not thinking about next year or 2 years from now, or let alone 3 years from now. He's thinking about, if I get the opportunity to take the snap from center and be the starting quarterback for UCF and lead them to a conference championship, that's way more important than anything that could possibly happen next year or 2 years from now.
And that's what a true team player says as well. A guy that lost his job to a gimmick quarterback. Well, I'm saying it, and I've said it the entire time. A gimmick quarterback that can run, and has all kinds of other issues. lost his job to that guy, but still isn't thinking about himself, is thinking about his team, that comes off the sideline and does the job that he's supposed to do. Like, the guy is a team player, period. So, I mean, I don't know if I would have handled that situation as good. I probably wouldn't have. I would have been pissed. But it seems like he's been a team player the entire time, and I expected nothing different from him. I'm so glad that somebody finally. I'm glad and I'm not glad. I hate that players even have to have that question asked to them. You know what I'm saying? But I'm glad that it finally was asked, I guess, in a way. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah,
but
no, it makes sense.
It's not something that, I don't know, redshirting because you want to transfer. We went through this before. It's crap. And if, like I said, if I was a coach and a player, wanted to redshirt because they wanted to transfer, then they'd be off the team at that moment. Period. You're gone. See ya. Bye. If I was the head coach, that's just how it would be. So, and I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. For me, I think it comes out as something special and unique about him. All too often in college football as a whole, you see players, especially with NIL, and I don't necessarily blame them for it. I mean, they're making the decision for themselves, right? And that's what Trey said a little later on. You guys may have expected that from him. I didn't know what he would say when he was put in this situation, but he was, and he said what he said, and hats off to him for it, because there's not a lot of players that would. We had a quarterback here that sat out that could have played last year that didn't.
Well, and we all know what kind of character that guy has too, though.
Exactly, and there's a lot of guys in college football that are that way.
Right.
Now,
and is he playing for a championship this coming Saturday?
Absolutely
no, he's not.
Exactly.
No, he's not. But he could have been playing for one here. So at the end of the day, what it boils down to, there's a lot of guys that sit out of New Year's Six bowls, that sit out of other games because they feel like it's the best for them. And Mikey could have very easily turned around and said, deflected that question and not said anything about it. But I think you're right in the sense that was his gut reaction and speaks to what he believes and what his truth is. And I think that's more the exception now than the rule in college football. Trey talks a lot about how college football has become a business, and it's become a business for the individuals. There's a lot of money at stake. There's their personal brand at stake, etc.
Actually, this just makes me think of this. The NIL thing has not been as bad as I thought it was going to be, by the way. Because I was very vocal about being very afraid of what was going to happen to college football, and it really hasn't. There hasn't been that many instances where, like, it really changed much, in my opinion. Not nearly as much as I was fearing, I guess.
I think.
I think what we. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Ben.
I was just going to say, I think what we saw last year with Dylan Gabriel was one of those kind of like punch in the gut moments of like things have changed for some players thinking a lot about the individual as opposed to team wise, and that's just one example. I'm not just going to focus in on him as the shining
well, that's
example.
The biggest one to us.
It's the biggest one to us. Is where we were like,
it.
Whoa, you mean to tell me that you're healthy enough to come back and play against our biggest rival,
and you're
not going to do it?
Yeah.
To do it before. Didn't he do it before the Cal game, or was it just after?
Before.
I can't remember.
It was
before.
A while before. A couple weeks, multiple games before. Yeah.
Right. So so I think that was one of the biggest like slap in the face, not slap in the face necessarily like from him. It just kind of hits you really hard that things have changed. Things have changed for the individual, but. So I think that, that's where, it really hit us hard, but you're right. I mean, you recruit the right types of athletes, the right types of individuals that are for something bigger than themselves. I mean, like I said, I don't know. I mean, growing up as athletes like we all did, I mean, at the end of the day, you are playing a team game, and the goal of a team game is to win a championship.
Basketball team. No I in team.
Exactly. I mean, the goal. I mean, you're not playing tennis. You're not playing tennis. You're not playing,
individual sport.
Golf, or you're not playing an individual sport. I mean, you're playing a team game, and the goal of a team game is to win a championship.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have expected Mikey to answer that any other way. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't have expected really anybody in his position to answer that any differently at this point in the season. It's different. It's different going into a season and you're saying, forget this. I lost my starting job. I didn't make it. I'm going to go find something else.
Yeah.
But at this point, it's right in front of you.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, really, if you wanted to make your film look really good or make your accolades look good in your bio, it probably would be best to win a championship.
Which has always been my thought on Mikey. If he decides to go somewhere else, that was always my thought, is that why wouldn't you want the tape?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't you want the tape of what you're doing, doing well? And, this, obviously the fifth game makes it even more unique because that's actually burning it at that point. It's not just tape for the tape's sake, but
right.
But yeah, I mean, it also is the fifth game is playing for something real and tangible. It's not garbage time against Temple.
Yeah, Gus has said that all quarterbacks are available in this, Castellanos included. He said it today in his press conference. We will do whatever we have to do. We'll use whoever we have to. Is basically what he said. That's paraphrasing, but
yeah.
But he did mention he did mention Castellanos as well, so he will be available. Doesn't matter about the red shirt, which is what I expected Gus to say as well.
So the only other comment I have on all of this is, and more specifically to your comment, Andrew, and we differ in opinion sometimes. I hesitate to use the word gimmicky, just because someone is a better running quarterback than he is a passing quarterback, and I think we all agree on that.
What I mean by that is not complete. He's a gimmicky player, a player that can do one thing great and not the rest of the position great, or even for the most part good most of the time. That's a gimmicky player.
And I would argue that anybody who's over 64% for the season in the passing completion percentage on top of running for the number of yards that he's run isn't a gimmicky player. Okay. But that's just my take on that.
Well, thanks for calling me.
And we can disagree on that. So at the end of the day, what it boils down to, though, and what I wanted to highlight there in my comment was more specifically towards, hey, Mikey, I think you celebrate the individual and what he said by doing that, and he didn't hesitate in saying that. He absolutely stood up, and he had the opportunity to make a personal choice as to whether he wanted to, because we don't know what's in store for Mikey. We all have our thoughts that maybe he decides to move on because of the quarterback room that we have. But at the end of the day, he stood up and he said, listen, I don't care. I don't care about the red shirt. I don't care about any of the rest of the stuff that's involved with that. I want to win with this team, no matter what it takes. And that, to me, deserves a heck of a lot of respect. And it does for me anyway. And I know it does from the both of you, because not everybody will say that. And that's been proven by players that we've had here before. True. So hats off to Mikey for that. And he's always been there whenever his name has been called, whether it's been last season when Dylan went down and he stepped in as an 18-year-old kid and led this team to the season that we had, and then the Florida game and beating Florida for the first time ever in our history. that guy's medal, I'm very proud that he's associated with UCF. And that was the main point that I wanted to make on that one.
No doubt. I mean, I think that if he, and I know that you're saying this, Roger, I just want to reiterate. I mean, I think that it would be unfortunate if this is the case, but if he doesn't play another down for UCF, in a UCF jersey, I think that the UCF fans, 5-10 years from now, who have paid attention for long enough, will look back on Mikey Keene and what he did for this university extremely fondly. I hope that's not the case. I hope he plays many more downs for this university, but mad respect to who he is as a player and ultimately as an individual.
Absolutely. Yeah, I hope he stays, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not holding my breath on that, but it would be awesome if he just sticks around and does what he does, I mean, if he wants to go and play someplace else, more power to him. And we obviously thank him for what he has done here, because beating Florida was pretty big. I think that
huge.
It was huge.
I mean, beating Cincinnati was huge this year.
but still,
yeah,
I think
Florida was humongous.
I think his biggest mark on his career at UCF, if this is the end of it, was beating Florida as a freshman. And struggled mightily at times, during that season, but towards the end was good enough and strong enough to beat Florida, and that's big, very big for the program. All right, we've got to get to Trey, and we're an hour and 25 minutes into this. What else do we? I mean,
there's not really much else to say other than because we've said everything that needs to be said about Tulane. The only other thing is for you to tee up your matchup predictor, and then we can move on to the next one.
All right. Well, that wasn't looking so good the last time I saw it. I know the last time let me see. I changed the page. Hold on just a second here.
It's in the notes there too, if you want to look at that.
Well, I want to look at real time, so that's why I look live, because the line changes real time. So right now we are a 3-point dog. So Tulane is favored by 3, and that's pretty much what you get automatically when you're at home. But this matchup predictor, which, I'm kind of losing faith in the matchup predictor, because it's wrong a lot of times. Especially a Navy game. That was really wrong. So they're giving...
it's been wrong 3 times this year. That's for darn sure.
It's been wrong quite a bit.
Because this is the first time, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that going into a game we have not been on the favorable side of the matchup predictor.
It is, I think, yes.
This season.
So Tulane 59.3 chance to win, UCF 40.7. So I'm going to say the matchup predictor is wrong, and this might be my final, matchup predictor segment, because it's kind of pissing me off. So, just like everything else. But, yeah, I think I'm done with you, matchup predictor, because, it's a weird little ESPN analytic thing anyway. If you ever click on it, and it like goes through this whole giant stat thing and power index, and it's a mess. So I don't believe in you anymore, matchup predictor. You're wrong.
He's lost the faith.
I've lost the faith. Yeah, it's a novelty. It's a gimmick. Anyway,
it's a gimmick.
It's 100% a gimmick. That is the word of the night. Gimmick. All right. So let's hear from Trey, and we'll see you in about an hour. All right. Please welcome back Trey Neal. Trey, boy, what a weekend! Quite. I'm kind of speechless about this one too. It was absolutely crazy. The game, tale of two halves, basically, again. Yes. And the defense just seemed to not be able to stop the Cows whatsoever for some reason. I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That was probably, out of all the games this season, that was probably hold on. I'm glad we got the win, of course. But that was, personally, to me, probably the worst game we played all season.
I think so.
In my opinion.
On defense, especially.
Yeah.
Defensively, the numbers back you up.
Yeah, defensively. And then you put everything else into accounted for of this is a 1-10 team. This is our rival game, last rival game. Like, I don't know. It's just disappointing.
Right.
Again, I'm glad we got the win because that's all that matters. But there's ways that you want to win as a program that we are trying to be, So I think that's what's disappointing.
Yeah. Rivalry games are always crazy, though. I mean,
of course,
it doesn't matter.
That's understood.
So, I mean, I was expecting something crazy when I saw. I don't think I got to the TV. I think it was probably the second quarter by the time I got to the TV, and I was listening on my app, and I was listening to the broadcast, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're kicking their butts, and then all of a sudden, halftime, and then boom, and I was just like, maybe I should turn this off. Maybe I shouldn't watch this. Maybe this is my fault. I don't know, because I started watching it then, but yeah, just. I mean, that's how, again, I'm going to say that's how the rivalry games go. I did not expect us to be up that much on them, to be honest with you. Anytime I see, a minus 20 for, a 20-point favorite or whatever, it always worries me with UCF. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like we can ever handle those situations very well. And I think I said last week that I was a little bit worried about that. And,
Yeah, and I think, I don't know. Because again, we were up 28-0 at one point, and then 31-7, I think, was at halftime. Like, to me, if you want to take that next step as a football team, as a, hopefully conference champion, like, those are games you put away. And I understand that there can be low moments. There can be a couple of drives here or there. But you cannot blow a 31-7 lead and have that mental, like, it lowered all the way to, like you said, I mean, the last drive we were losing. Yeah. Good teams don't do that. That was almost an entire half of bad football. And granted, we made plays because we are the better team, and we made the plays that we needed to win that game. But we're about to play Tulane, and they're going to want revenge.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't going to be a game that we get up 31-7, I don't think. This isn't going to be a game that you can blow a 24-point lead and win at the just last-second heroics because the team's good. No, this team is talented as well. I think that's where my frustration comes from. It's not necessarily that, and I mean, again, we've been saying it all year. Like, even if we win conference, you're talking about a New York Six Bowl team. We're going to be playing a really good team. It's going to be, I mean, I've seen people say we're playing Alabama projections. We're playing, Texas Tech, like all these other teams that you can't do that to them. They're going to have just as many athletes. They're going to have just as good coaching. Like, that's where I guess I'm frustrated from. And that's what's frustrating to me overall. It's just the inconsistency. Like you said, you get a tale of two halves. Like, we've been saying that all year, it seems like. Except the games where we either look really, really good and we kill teams all game, or games we look really, really bad or we're just horrible all game. Like, other than that, that's what I feel like we've been saying about this team.
All right,
Wow. And I think it starts with, it starts up top. But again, we're the ones. These are the guys that are playing. Like, somebody has to take leadership. You can't blow a 24-point lead. Not when you're this good. Not when you're, not this team that we have now. Like, it's not like we have young guys. And honestly, the young guys, they're not young anymore. I remember I told Bam Moore that. I said the first time you take a play on snap on college football, you're not a young guy anymore. You know what college football is like. And now you just got to play.
Yeah.
Now we're in this is the last game of the season. Like, there's no excuses for, they're young, this, that. And quite frankly, there's no excuses for the offense to not know to be low with Mikey Keene out there, because he started a couple of games. He came in relief and played well. Like, there's no excuses. Like, defensively, this you shut them out pretty much in the first half. There's no excuses to come out in the second half when all year we've been better in the second half than we are in the first half. Like, I don't get it. And again, it's frustrating because I don't think we ever will see this team. Like, it's a lot of what this team could have been, and that's what frustrates. It eats at me as a fan. That's what eats at me the most.
Right. Well, I will say, and I know people are going to not like me for this, but I mean, I've said lots of things that people don't like me for. I'm going to say that I believe that USF or the Cows are not as bad as their record shows either.
Oh, no, I agree. They're not that
it's
bad.
Kind of like
what I just saw.
Yeah, it's kind of like an 0-12 UCF team that is talented, but just doesn't have the whatever it takes to do it or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Doesn't have the inner, want or need to do it. So
Yep, exactly.
Well, so from my perspective, they have the offense to do it. They've been doing it week in and week out and playing close games, but not getting over the hump. So they've been
especially with this new quarterback.
Yeah, and that was my next point is, like, this is their fourth string quarterback, I think. Mm-hmm. So, this kid, I mean, we didn't know what we were going to get this game because they played, Tulsa, I think, or whoever it was a relatively low level defense last week, and he missed like one throw, right?
Yeah.
And we watched him play this game, and he's 6'2". I think he's like 190 some odd pounds, dual threat. And they also, according to, looking at the tape, they played a completely different offense. They basically mirrored our offense in a lot of ways. They just did some other wrinkles off of what we were doing. A lot of movement in the backfield, which they weren't doing all season long. When they had their starting quarterback, who was the transfer from Baylor, they were doing more drop back passing. They weren't running the ball at all. So for most of the season, that's what they were doing. And the defensive performance in the second half was disappointing to me because of the tackling more than anything else.
Yeah.
Their tackling, arm tackling. Yeah, arm tackling. Their angles were bad. It seemed like every time we had a wide open shot on somebody and it was just an open field tackle, we couldn't do it. And then Batee, every time we tried to tackle him, he's dragging him and Horn. They're dragging 6 people along with them. And our starting linebackers, Jason Johnson and JJB, who played 60 snaps this game, they rated terribly on PFF. Terribly. So, watching this team, it was Byron Brown, I think is his name. He was 13 of 20, so he was 65%. But where they really got us was with the runs. I mean, they were just killing us with the runs. It looked like we were playing ourselves almost as far as what the offense was doing. And what I'm concerned about after seeing that, right, is how are we going to handle Tajay Spears next week?
Yeah, exactly. And I was watching him when they played Cincinnati, and I truly think, like, when I watched that Tulane game the first time we played them, I just couldn't believe what they were doing defensively versus JRP. Like, they were blitzing him with no spy, and they did it a good amount of time, especially on the first touchdown. I'm like, what are you guys – like, I get blitzing them, but you're just sending 5. Like, we have 5 to pick, and if they pick it up, he's out of the gate. Like, there's nobody catching him on that field. And they did that consistently, which obviously led to him having a huge game. But, again, just back to what you're saying, the defense, if we can't tackle this quarterback and then this running back, next week is gonna be like there's gonna be a problem this week. Like this running back I think he's an NFL player. That's just me. Maybe not
is
a stud,
I agree
but
with you.
he's gonna play. You know, he might have a role like a Tony Pollard. That's what he reminded me of. A little Tony Pollard-ish.
But T is the same way. I mean, two
exactly.
years in a row, 1,000-yard rusher. So, I mean, it's not like they had bad talent. They've had some talent. We knew Horn was a talent. And I know they're trying – he took all of his cow stuff off of his Twitter today, and he's a flip target. And I know that Timmy has been working on him, trying to get him over, as well as Greer, their leading tackler and linebacker, who has 2 years of experience.
Yeah,
he played well.
I think he's in the portal, I think.
Yep. And he was hanging out with UCF players last week.
Well, both of those
yesterday.
guys should have been here anyway. So
agreed.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
Timmy
especially
and Horn.
especially Horn.
Yeah, old Heupel missed out on that one.
Well, him and Timmy went as a pair there, and we didn't even recruit Timmy, which is crazy, absolutely crazy, and yeah, it's just insane.
Well, he wanted pocket passers, and Timmy was a dual threat, but he was a really good dual threat with a lot lot of offers.
Right. So
yeah, let's not get into
his friend is Jimmy Horn though,
span.
so hopefully he will be heading this way. There's a couple schools in the rumor mill for him, but I would hope that he would come and hang out with his buddy again. So
yeah, but again, like tackling is poor, and that's something that we've been saying all year. And again, there's nothing that you can really fix in season because just how much other stuff you have to install. But the guys have to understand, like, you can't just go in with arm tackling and hoping. You can't go in with just your shoulder. And I mean, I get it because I would do the same thing, and I miss tackles doing the same thing. But at some point, like, it can't be an all season thing, and it can't be everybody doing the same thing. Like, it's just bad. And again, the way this defense was playing early in the year and just how they come out in the second half, it was super disappointing just seeing how they played that second half of the last game.
Gus today seemed to think that they were worn out.
Well, I mean, everybody's worn out. So
at
this
time of the season, everybody's worn out. Yeah.
Now, granted, it was you come off the Navy game, you might be a little banged up.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Everybody's worn out at this point. The Navy game, I could understand that, but I don't think it wasn't. It didn't look like it was a legs thing because, again, we saw them in the first half and they were shutting. They played great, not great, but they played really well in the first half.
Yeah.
So we had 3 fumbles. We had 3 fumbles on offense within the span of 18 minutes. So within the span of 1 quarter, we had 3 fumbles. That doesn't help either.
That's really why the game got close. We were just giving the ball up to them, and then they were scoring, and then again the momentum swings.
Giving it up on the 20 and 30-yard line. I mean, there's not much you can do as a defense. It's it's literally possession, score, possession, fumble, score within 49 seconds, fumble again within a minute 29, and then you're back on the field again at the 30 trying to, and if I calculated out, I think it was 11 out of 18 minutes, out of those 18 minutes, they were on the field.
Yeah, but here's the thing that I always say. This defense, I remember at the beginning of the season, people were saying this could be the best defense to come through here. Like, it had that kind of talent. Mm-hmm. I've heard people, and for the most part, we were giving them their flowers for these guys are a top 10, red zone defense, top 10 on third downs. Me personally, if you want to be that and you want to showboat about that, you got to prove it in those moments where your offense fumbles the ball. And when the offense can't get a drive going, gets a 3 and out. Like, that's when you say, hey, we are this top 10 defense for a reason. Let's prove it. You don't go out there and do it and then get scored on 3 possessions in a row. That's the pride, I guess, in playing defense. Like, especially when you're that good on defense, statistically. Like, you're up there you're talking Alabamas, Georgias, who are putting guys in the NFL left, right. Like, they're, that's like the god of defensive teams, like those 2 teams. And you're up there with them. Like, that's just a pride thing. Like, you can't just let it keep going downhill. And again, that's where it goes back to the leadership too. Guys have got to put out these fires before they turn to huge fires like we're down 1 to USF and have to drive for our life. Like, that's the thing. Like, I don't know. That's just me. If I were, like, with the defense was that good, that's the kind of pride they should have. Like, they should love the opportunity to hold a team to 3. Like, that's what you play defense for.
Yeah, it's interesting that they looked that good early in the season, or most of the season. There were obvious issues with the defense as well, but being ranked way up there and all that stuff, and then all of a sudden, stuff like this and Navy happens. It's a couple weeks in a row, to be honest with you. And like you said, it's not going to be any easier next week. Because
it's not going to be any easier the next two games because we're going to a bowl.
The rest, yeah. It's not going to be.
These are going to be some big games.
Yeah.
And like Gus said that you're tired. Okay, you think that's going to be a good excuse if we lose this Saturday? Absolutely not. That's not a reason.
In a way, at one point during this game this week, when we were down, when they were up, and in the third quarter they scored 22, we scored 3. At one point during that, I caught myself, because I was thinking, I'm like, you know what? We don't deserve to win this game the way that we're playing. Maybe it's just best if we don't win this game. And then I thought, wait, this is the Cows. This is the rivalry. Yeah. Let's not. But if that even crossed my mind,
that goes to show how bad we're playing.
Yeah, it was bad. And I was just thinking, do we get in a conference championship game, with this kind of a thing, and this happens to us on national television on ABC or whatever it is that it's going to be on? I think it's ABC. Do we really want this to be seen again nationally? Like, oh,
listen,
man.
The way I look at it is this. We're in a championship game. We had a streak going back to, like, I don't remember our first championship game under O'Leary, where every senior that had played in at least one championship, and most of them had won. And most of them had won one, right? So this was the season where we had seniors, right, that they had to get to the championship this game, otherwise they would have missed.
That would have been there 4 years, I think it was 2018 was the last one.
Exactly. So, I'm happy for them to do that. The other thing, you do have to give it to them. They did pull it out. I don't know what it is about fourth quarters, but we seem to pull out craziness when we need to in fourth quarters. Holler twice in 2 different games.
Holler, by the way, I'm just going to say it right now before anybody else says it. He is a legend at this point. In my eyes, that catch,
he's gonna be J.J. Wharton style.
Well, just because he made a one-handed catch doesn't make him J.J. Wharton or J.J.
Wharton. What was on the line?
But
I think there was more on the line with J.J.'s just in the how far of a catch.
Right.
So to me, even in that situation, I didn't even know why Gus was throwing the ball. Let's just because we're in field goal range. We're just going to run the clock out, kick the field goal, call timeout, game over. I get it.
It was 4 points, though. It was a 4-point difference.
Yeah, it was.
He had time to try it, and I understand why he did it.
It was a 4-point difference. We would have lost the game, though. It was 4 points.
If they would have scored, but even if, as long as we didn't get an interception, then we had another down that we could have ran down and then kicked the field goal. So
I'm pretty sure wasn't it 4 points, though?
No, we were losing 38 to 39. Yeah.
Okay. I thought for some reason it was a 4-point difference. Maybe that was.
Oh, no, if it was 4 points, then you have to throw it. But I
maybe that was a different game I was watching. I thought, for some reason, it was 4 points. Okay.
Dude, how could you get mixed up on that slime green uniform? That's just terrible.
I watched a lot of football
and like you're saying,
this weekend, so.
Like Roger's saying, again, at the end of the day, all we want to do is just win games, and they did that. But again, we're really just nitpicking at this point. But I don't know. I've sat in those locker rooms. I've sat in those meetings. I understand how they feel, but there has to be it doesn't look like they play with a sense of urgency until you have to play with a sense of urgency, you know?
Right.
And that's what is frustrating. Like, mostly I just speak from defense, really. Like, you should be always wanting to dominate who you're playing every single rep. Even if you're just playing for yourself to try to get to the NFL, like, you want to put good tape. I'm just speaking from NFL. You need to put good tape out, because when you get in those meetings with those coaches and those GMs, they're going to ask you, what are your 3 best games you played, 4 best games? You tell them, they won't even put in, they say, what are your worst games? Okay, which ones do you think they're pulling up, your best games or your worst games? They want to see how you respond, and they want to see, are you willing to take coaching? Like, those are the games they're going to pull up, so you shouldn't want to have bad film, you know, like, and that's like just a pride thing to me. And I know a lot of those guys want to go to the NFL, so like, that's something I would say, like, listen, you guys can't be putting this film out of playing bad on defense, because this is what coaches are going to watch. And then again, like you guys are saying, these are national TV games. Everybody sees it. Coaches see it. Everybody watches these games. So I don't know. I just think that's, of course, is great, and I'll never be mad at them for winning games, because that's all that it matters at the end of the day. But
right.
Well,
there's a way to win.
You were talking about how things are different, right? And so I had a few questions teed up for you for this week that are, since you've been in this situation at UCF, right? Not exactly the same, obviously, because of the record, but, one, you did go through the whole situation with Frost, right? And his decision before the bowl game and all that. Right now, there's rumors swirling about Willie Fritz.
I think it's a done deal.
Yeah, I think he's gone. That's just what I've heard.
I think ESPN is reporting that it's a done deal.
Yeah.
Well, I just saw something, too, that Bill Clark is in the mix now, too, because they said they were still interviewing. So I think it's a done deal, too, based on the interview he gave about the game, because he was asked, like, the second question.
Yeah, I was thinking
that's another thing.
Freeze is who Auburn hired. I thought it was I got them mixed up. It's Fritz.
Yeah, Fritz.
Yeah,
Willie Fritz. I think
Willie
Fritz.
They interviewed Fritz and said, like, are you taking the blah, blah, blah job? And he said, right now I'm the head coach at Tulane. I believe I saw that was said. And to me, I was like, I know what that means.
You've been there.
yeah. I've heard that response before a couple of times.
So how does that impact a team? I mean, if all of this is going on, and I'm assuming Fritz is going to be more honest with the team than he is anywhere else in the way, if he is leaving and he knows he's leaving, he's going to frame it in-house like, look, guys, I'm leaving, but I'm here with you for this game. We've done a lot of stuff together. I believe in you guys. I want this game for what we've done together, right? So
exactly.
But as a player, and this is all happening Saturday and Sunday, and our game is Saturday, so it's less than a week, so it's a little different than what you guys went through. But how does that impact a team? Because he's not prepping if he's out interviewing, and they had their first practice today. Do you think that impacts them at all in either a positive way to rally around him or a negative way?
I think, well, let me preface. With Coach Frost, it was official when they announced it, like, while we were playing. And then, like, we had the interview. So we had already played the conference championship. But we already had been hearing rumblings, probably after the ECU game, I remember, that Coach Frost is a hot name. Like, he might be doing blah, blah, blah. Like, teams are interested, blah, blah, blah. Like, and we already knew, like, okay, like, and he was the offensive, like, he was the hot name even when he came to UCF. He was the Oregon, and that was when Oregon was, like, the biggest thing in the world offensively. So we kind of already dealt with that. But I think the good thing with our team was our older guys led, and they told, like Shaquem Griffin, Aaron Evans, all those guys, they led and said, hey, listen, we're here to play football. We're here to win a conference championship, and that's what we want to do. And when you can do that, and it trickles down from those your better players, saying that, then it trickles down throughout the whole program, and we don't really worry. And that's where we kind of realize at the moment, like, listen, it doesn't matter who's coaching us. We're always going to play hard for each other. We're always going to come out here and give it everything we got. So I think it can go one of two ways for Tulane. If their older guys don't kind of reel in the situation of the control it and be like, listen, our goal was conference championship, to win a conference championship, and we're 1 week away from that. Like, we're one game away from completing that goal. We got to focus in and block out all the noise. That's what they should do, and I think that's what a good team does. Or it could be the complete opposite, where you have guys upset, you have guys mad, you have guys maybe selfishly figuring out what they want to do. Because the thing back then was there was no transfer portal. Because I see all these kids jump in the transfer portal now the second their season's over. It's like, how in the world are you jumping in? Your season just ended. Like, where's the – like, that's like a whole different ballgame that they could be dealing. Like, some kids might be like, hey, I'm going to go to Georgia Tech. If he's going, I'm trying to figure out if I need to go. Like, so it could go one of two ways. Hopefully, if it were me in that situation, if I'm one of the older guys, one of the leaders of the team, you have to reel it in and say, listen, what happens after Saturday, we'll figure that out after Saturday. But right now, the goal is to win a conference championship. And then that's the best possible situation. But it's really just one of two things. I don't think there's a middle ground in it. I think it can get really good, or I think it can get really, really bad. And I think even in the games, because the players know. They know. We knew when Frost was getting all these interviews, and not interviews, but like all the rumors. We saw all the rumors. We saw everything. It was the elephant in the room. But guess what? We wanted to win a championship. We wanted to go undefeated. We wanted to play in a New Year's Six Bowl. Like, that was our goal, and we didn't let anything steer us from it. And it started with the guys up top that I mentioned.
Did y'all know about the Philadelphia meeting?
No, we didn't know about the Philadelphia meeting as a team. Now, in hindsight, a lot of people, they said they knew. We didn't know anything about it as a team at the time. But I think, to me, that stuff goes on all the time. So, like, personally, it never bothered me, because how else was, like, he was in a lose-lose situation. If he would have just openly been like, yeah, I'm interviewing for this job, I think it rubs the team wrong as well. And maybe not the older guys, but the younger guys. Again, when we had the meeting with, like, when he said us after that game when we met, most of the kids that were upset and crying were the younger kids, because, again, they're freshmen, and you said – you were never going to, like, you were here for the long haul, blah, blah, blah. Us older guys, we were juniors, seniors. We'd already been through a coaching change once. Like, we understand it's a part of the business, and where UCF was at the time, like, it was like the perfect stepping stone to get that big-time job. So we kind of got it, but sorry to get off track, but no, we did not really know about the Philadelphia meeting.
It's not getting off track, because it's a unique experience that you've gone through, and a lot of people don't really know what happens behind the scenes. Like, it's like, I was surprised that so few actually followed him. I was expecting more to go than what actually went. So
how did that? I think so. Yeah, since we're a little bit off track, but let's keep going, because how did that whole thing go down? Like how did that conversation with Frost, like, what, he came into the locker room after winning the championship game?
No, so we won the championship, blah, blah, blah.
It got announced to the fans via ESPN.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys knew everything. We knew absolutely nothing. Like, we were lost in the dark. Even the fans on TV were like, holy smokes. And people were saying that they were getting, like, the little ESPN messages on their phones.
Oh, yeah. Like,
during the conference. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, that's like, to me, that's messed up, because you kind of take away the moment from the kids. And I think that's where you start seeing the business side of college football. It's never really about the kids. It's about what generates money, what makes people talk, what's the headlines. And it trickles down to everything, even college football playoff selection, college football rankings. Like, it's a big money-making business, which people have to understand that to understand everything else. But
not only did it take away from the kids and the players and everybody else, but it took away from the fans, to be honest with you, too, because I know how I felt when my phone vibrated and I looked down, and, at the beginning of overtime, they timed it for the end of the game, but the game went into overtime. And boom, there it was. And we all just all of us looked at our phones at the same time, because it was like during a timeout or something. And like, we all looked at our phones, and we all just like looked at each other like, what the, what's going on? Really?
Exactly.
ESPN, this is the time you announce this? Like, we're in the middle of,
Exactly.
it deflated the entire thing, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean, you guys weren't tipped off by that red and white shirt that everybody saw him walking
obviously,
in with?
but I mean, you never
we
know.
weren't as players. We never paid attention. Like when we were doing the night walk, we weren't looking at what Coach Frost was wearing. We weren't even looking at, we weren't ever looking at
hindsight
what
is
each other were
2020
wearing.
for us, but
I
didn't care what he was wearing either.
But like we were in the moment, living in the moment, and again having one more game at home, which again most of the time people don't have that, which why I'm pissed that we're not hosting this one. But like we were just so in the moment, and again once we figured it out, like, and I know Frost didn't want it to happen like that, and I don't think if they were to be like, hey Coach Frost, when do you want us to release the game, he probably said, after the game would be the best time because I don't want to take anything away. Well, they took it. Okay, we're going to do it at this time after the fourth quarter ends, not thinking we're going into overtime. And that's what to me is like, I think that's just lazy, whatever scheduling on their part. Like somebody has to know that.
I'm sure they were afraid too that someone was going to scoop them because that was a big scoop at the time. I think that's part of it too.
Now you're getting into the business, the ratings part of ESPN.
No, I get it.
All of that.
I get it. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm sure that played into it as well. Because you can't keep any secrets in college football. I mean, there's no secret. Everybody's interconnected. Everybody knows each other.
Mm-hmm.
So-and-so says this.
If one person whispers and one person hears it, and now you have social media with Twitter, you can send it out to everybody. So, like, again, it's impossible to keep a secret. But, yeah, so we won the championship, blah, blah, blah. They took a couple of us into, the post-game press conference room. And then when I already kind of figured out that he might be entertaining Giles, whatever, that's fine. When we first kind of officially knew, besides the phones, was they interviewed us and they were talking. He's like, how are you going to tell your players, talk to your players about blah, blah, blah. And they didn't really directly say leaving. He was like, oh, we're going to have a meeting with my players. And we're all sitting there like, of course we got to put on a smile and, not look kind of crazy. Like, what are you talking about? But then we got a message probably 30 minutes after that saying, like, hey, team meeting, blah, blah, blah. And again, there's no other reason to have a team meeting after a conference championship game because you're not going to give us a schedule. You can wait till tomorrow to give us a schedule for the rest. Like, we knew what it was about. And we walked in, and then, I mean, he was just up front. He was just saying, he hates it, how it came out. That was really what he harped on, how it came out. And again, he was upset, but at the end of the day, he had to do what was best for him at that time. And the younger kids didn't get it because, like I was saying earlier, they were telling them, you came to my house just a year ago and said that, we're going to build this for the next 4 years, blah, blah, blah. Like, you told me this, that, and the third, and now you're leaving, and I haven't even been here a year for, some of the freshmen and some of the young guys. But
if I was a parent and had a kid on the team, I would be super pissed. At that moment.
Exactly. And that's the tough part, I think, about the business is just when would be the perfect time for him to leave? When's the perfect time for any coach to go do what's best for, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because there's always going to be freshmen on the team that you just recruited. So it's going to come with it. And I just say that's why if I were to ever coach, I would never say I'm going to be here for the long haul because you don't want to disappoint that one family who is putting all of their trust into you. That's the sad part of the game that I don't like about it. But yeah, I mean, but at that moment, once he said that, Shaquem and them again, they rallied and said, listen, guys, it's never been about the coaches here. We've won conference championship with Coach O'Leary. Didn't work out. We got a new coach, but it's always about the guys in the room. That's what any football team, that's what most teams, that's what it's about. It's about the guys that are playing on Saturdays. And I think that's just having that conversation with them even helped when Coach Frost came back to coach us for the bowl game because there were still some guys that were upset about it. There were still some, as a team, people that were upset about it. But, just that leadership that they showed, that's what kind of helped us even with the bowl prep and going through that last game. I think that's really what happened was just the leadership those guys showed.
I remember I was after the game well after the game. I was over in the D garage or C garage, I don't know, the one that's closest. Can't remember. And Shaquem, Shaquille, and Tony Gerard were all over there. And we were standing there talking to their parents anyway, because we hung out with them a lot. And they all walk up, and I'm just like, okay, what's going on? And they were immediately saying, we're not playing if Frost isn't our isn't coaching the bowl game. We're not playing. And I'm like, guys, wait a second, you can't do that. Like, no, and they're like, no. They were like very adamant that they were not playing.
The early talk.
Yeah,
it was one thing
that
said
night.
To Danny White.
Yeah.
Because we had a meeting with Danny White later that night.
Okay.
To figure out, just what's the plan. And I think that was the first thing they said. We're not playing without Coach Frost.
Yeah.
I don't care. We're not having the interim. We're not having anything. We're not playing without him.
I mean, this was right after that. I mean, I'm assuming it was right after that meeting.
This was Saturday night, yeah. I mean, you're thinking, again, we were supposed to probably – the game ended at what, 7? Because it was a 3:30 game, I think. Or did we play at noon?
I don't remember, but this was it was getting late into the night because I know we tailgated and stuff, after like we always did. And
exactly. So I remember leaving the facility. It was probably 10:30, 11 o'clock. And
this was probably around that time, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so I think that's what it was. I think it was probably 10:30, 11 o'clock, and we had just left, and we had finished the game, I think, at like 7:38, which that's crazy because we had the meeting. Then Danny White came in. We're going to do this search, blah, blah, blah. And then he's like, leaders, it was called Leadership Council, and they brought like the leaders of the team into the big team meeting, not team meeting room, but the like coaches meeting room.
Right.
And we sat down and we told them. I mean, it was a crazy meeting, to say the least. I mean, it was telling guys, we don't want this. If we're going to have a new coach, what do you guys want? We want this kind of stuff, blah, blah. Like, it was a lot of harsh feelings being told because we're fresh off of a championship, and now you're sitting here asking who we want to be our new coach. Like, let us enjoy the freaking, you know what I'm saying? Like, let us enjoy the day. Like, we haven't even enjoyed winning this conference championship yet, you know? So it was a lot of rough. It was very straightforward conversation. I'll say that.
Do you think they adhered to what you guys, or took into account what you guys wanted out of a new coach when they hired Heupel?
Yeah, I mean, yes, because I don't, to be honest, I don't think Danny White, I think he was doing that more of a courtesy to the leaders of the team. I don't think I think he kind of already zeroed in on what he was doing, because if Danny White, I think, is a smart guy. He knew that Frost was getting poached by good teams, by big-time programs that could offer more money. So he should already have been thinking of a backup plan. And I think ultimately it was always going to be, we've made so much money. We've built a great brand off of explosive offenses. We need to go get the next kind of explosive offense guy. So I think he just kind of did it as a courtesy. And I think it was more so, the meeting was more about just what we were going to do as far as bowl stuff. I think he did ask us, like, what are you guys looking for in a new coach? There were recommendations on who we should do, blah, blah, blah. But, I mean, I
you guys offered those, or Danny offered?
No. There were guys that were just like, we should keep this coach or do this, like keep somebody and do that from there. But, I mean, again, we knew that at least I knew what the business was. I thought it was just courtesy, in which I respected him for even doing that. He didn't have to do that. But I think he already kind of figured it out who he wanted, or like a group of people he kind of wanted, which was just a bigger name guy, and with the great upcoming offense. So I think he hit it out the park with that. I think with Coach Heupel, his offense has never been the problem. As you can see, that's never the issue. It was more so just recruiting and kind of things going on internally, from what I hear. But I think he did a good job by us, and I think he did right by us by bringing us in and asking us those questions, just where we thought about things and where we stood and how we felt.
All right, one more silly question about this, and this is a quick one. How many players were you expecting to transfer? I assume you had some conversations because you ended up leaving, but Were there a lot more players that you expected to transfer? Or did you expect them all to stay? Because it sounded like you guys had a really, really good relationship, and everything I'd heard with Frost at the time.
Yeah. I don't really know exactly where first of all, I never asked anybody to come to Nebraska for me, like me personally. I never said, come on to Nebraska, blah, blah, blah. Like, I never did that. Because I didn't think it was right by, Coach Heupel and what he wanted to do. Like, I just felt it was wrong and to do that. But I told guys, you guys are grown men. Like, I think we even had that conversation before, like after the game. Like, we're grown men. You guys have to do you always do what's best for you, because as you see, our coaches are going to do the same. And it sucks, but that's just the reality of it. And they were like, you're right. But I never really thought guys were going to leave just because I don't know. I just think they didn't want to. I think so many of our really good young guys that were like the Frost guys, like a Adrian Killinger or McKenzie, I think it wouldn't have. I think it was too much backlash would have followed them, And I think, when Noah Vedral, he lives and dies in Nebraska, so we all knew he was leaving. But I think when I left, and then they kind of saw me get killed a lot, on Twitter, because I'm not gonna lie, I was getting killed on Twitter, and social media just in general. I think that kind of kept them. If they were on the edge, that pushed them back to staying, because, they were younger and they were just like, I don't want to deal with that, which I get it. But I'm sure they were all thinking about it, because they all thought, the same thing that most people think when their coach transfers. Why would I go follow my coach and I've had so much success with him? Why would I stay here, do something else if I don't want to do it? Right. But I think, again, the core guys that stayed, like McKenzie, when they backed up Heupel and they had a good thing going, I think that's something that they couldn't pass up too. I think they had felt that they had their footsteps and their footprint was here, and they could leave a mark here. And that's why they didn't stay. And then at that point, I had heard rumors of people wanting to go later, but at that point it's too late, because now Frost is recruiting guys, and like, you can't just bring in those guys at that point. It's too late. It was more so a leave now while you can, or you're not going to be able to, because now they're just going to move on with it.
That's understandable.
It's interesting. Yeah. It's certainly interesting. I know at the time, like, honestly, like, on social media or whatever, there were times where I defended you only because I knew you personally, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and I knew a lot of the guys personally. If I did not know you, I probably wouldn't have been out there bashing you, but I probably wouldn't have felt the same. But
exactly.
But they didn't,
and that just comes with it.
We've had this discussion. I was one of the guys that was pretty upset with you.
And again, that's completely.
It's water under the bridge now, reasonable. But I was pretty upset.
And again,
because I really liked you as a UCF player. So,
but like, people, again, like I was saying, that was something that I had to think about. Like, getting into it even further, I even thought about just like, listen, Trey, you are graduated with a pre-med degree. Go be done with it. Like, if you truly don't want to do another staff and do this and do that or a third, go be done. Go get into the medical field, or go be a GA or a coach. Like, just, that way you don't have to deal with the backlash of everything, and that was something, one of my options was to just be done with it, period. Like, why even risk anything and stay healthy? I can go pursue other avenues, because I was always raised, football is not who I am. It's something I do. And if you can use that avenue to get where you want, always pursue it. Like, I never hinged all of my eggs into the football basket. But that was something I did weigh, was, what kind of backlash will I get? Yeah. I knew I would get a little backlash. I didn't think I'd get as much backlash.
Because it's unfortunate that players get that backlash, because at that point you're a kid still. You're a kid. Yeah. Before you're graduated from college, you're a kid.
I used to always be like, everybody that's like, of course I didn't tweet it, but in my head I was like, everybody that's bashing me, nobody has asked me why.
Yeah. And that was one of the first questions that I asked you, on this show since when you were on here. It was one of the very first things, even before we went on the air. I'm like, why? Tell me, because I was one of those guys that was bashing you. I'm sorry, and you know that.
And again, I get it, but that was. And I would see all these adults that would they're bashing me and just.
I don't think I said anything horrible, but I just
no. I mean, I'm not even saying people said. Actually, people did say some horrible stuff.
I'm sure they did.
That just comes comes with the territory. But I was just always like, nobody's asked me why. We're just stoning the kid, not literally, but we're just killing the kid. But nobody's asked me why, because if you ask why, maybe you'd understand.
Social media is kind of like stoning, though, in a way. It kind of is, because everybody's throwing rocks.
I can't. And the thing is, it was so many people. I can't even respond to all the people that are, adding me and doing this, saying that. I would have been doing that 20 for a whole month. Yeah. But
and that's the thing, though. It's a personal brand now. Now it's even more, social media has even more influence because now you're with NIL and getting ready for the NFL, and that's stuff that they look at as your personal brand and how that could bring negativity or positivity to their team. So when folks are looking at players, I mean, that's a big part of it. And, Kyle Israel, friend of the show, personal friend of ours, he used to do this segment before you. And he was telling the story when they lost the Cows game, some drunk UCF fan came up to him and his family when they were having dinner and tried to bow up on him.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Getting death threats, had stuff under his window.
He got death threats. Yeah.
Tires slashed, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Which that's overboard because, again, we are just kids. We're 22 and we think we're adult. 21, 22.
Though.
But
your brain changes when you're 25.
1,000%.
You know that now.
Yeah, 1,000%.
It's just so. Yeah, you can't. I mean, and I bash on Plumlee and whatever, but it's all in game. But it doesn't leave
I don't think it's even bashing. I just think, because I think we're just critiquing because at the end of the day, we don't go out there and play. We don't go out there and do all the work they do. And guess what? Every Saturday, I even see it in our messages. We want this team to dominate every Saturday. Yeah. We don't want people playing bad. We don't want. We've always put our personal preference, who we think should be playing or this, that, what Gus is calling, whatever. We just want to dominate as a team.
And we wish no harm on anyone.
On anybody. And that's where I think it's different. Yes, we're allowed to critique football because, one, we've all played football at a certain level. So we know what a good product is, or we've been a part of or seen a good product at the school. We've seen great quarterbacks come through here. We've seen a great offense come through here. We've seen great defenses come through here. So, there's a standard in our head of what we see and what we do, and it's no problem to call out inconsistencies in that. But again, I always preface, as long as we get the win, that's all that matters. We're just sitting here picking the nitty-gritty details so that one day, if we always put it all the way together, we can win a national championship. And I think that's our goal in mind. If our goal was just continue winning American Conference championships and being in New Year's Six Bowls, what's the point of critiquing? Because we still have that goal option ahead of us. There's no point in critiquing. Right.
This program has always wanted more, and I don't think.
It's going to get a lot more after this season.
Well, I know, but even that though is a stepping stone. I mean,
and I think there's gonna be some lumps that are gonna be taken as we move into that into the Big 12. I think that's a whole nother subject for conversation, just because that's another hour thing we can talk about. But it takes time. It's not gonna, and I think that's probably the one thing I hate about our 13-0 season. Granted, I love everything about it. I think the 13-0 season gave UCF fans a false hope of how a program's supposed to be built.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible.
It's that in Alabama. Alabama's the other part of it.
It's so hard to win every game in one season, let alone you take over an 0-12 team and turn it into what that was just, I tell people, it was the perfect storm. Then you carry into the next year and you're talking going 25-0 into another New Year's 6 game, like that's not how programs are built. And people think that
it's not how life works in general. Nothing works.
It's
like
not.
that.
And I think that's the one thing about the fans that I'm just like, and that's what I always say. I'm like, I know the fans that we're here for 0-12 versus the ones who came for Frost. Like, there's a very big difference in the type of fans they are because they don't understand.
Yeah.
And that's just, again, I think, we have a standard, but we know the reasonable fans know if there's a team that we play that we were just clearly outmatched. But with the talent we've had in this conference, that's a rare occurrence. So we're going to be upset. But I think when people think we're going to go undefeated every year, that's hard no matter what sport you're playing. Like,
we all want to go undefeated every year. Everybody wants that. All the players, all the coaches, all the fans want that. But it's just not a realistic
It's almost not
expectation.
sustainable because of the turnover of college football, especially now.
Yeah.
You're going to lose. If you're a great team like that, you're going to lose great players to either graduation. If you're even that good, you're going to lose them to the draft. If you're that good, your backups are going to go want to play somewhere else too. That's
exactly. Now the parity is so much with the transfer portal and everything else. The parity in college football has become more just relating to the NFL. Why haven't we seen an undefeated NFL team in a long time?
Because one, it's already hard enough to win all those games, but 2, teams change. People want money. People's desires change. That's coaches, same thing. Like it's so hard, and of course you want to win, but I think that 13-0, like just the way a program is built, you don't go from 0-12 to 6-6 to 13-0 in a 3-year span.
Right.
Nobody does that.
Yeah.
That's what made it an anomaly. Like, but there is a steady growth that you should have as a program, and if you have consistency at the top, there is a standard that should be met. Now that we have Gus, and if I feel that he's going to be here for the long run, there's a standard that needs to be met. And I think for the first 2 years, he has performed well to the standard. There are games where he's left us wanting more, of course. But that can be attributed to a lot of things. New quarterback, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think we're on the right track. But I don't want people, I guess, to just expect us to be a top 5 team every year. That is the goal, of course. But it's going to take time to get there.
And then the ignorance of all these people that are those people that weren't around, and some of them that were, but saying fire Gus after winning our rivalry and getting us to the American championship. I mean, that's just the dumbest thing that I've ever heard. In fact, I just kept responding to people, your ignorance is showing. That's all I would respond in all these little groups when people were saying that. I'm like, you're showing your ignorance. This is so stupid.
Do you know that Gus has only had one season in his entire career where he's won less than 8 games as a head coach? One.
And you're talking about getting rid of this guy?
Exactly.
And he was doing that in the SEC.
Who are you going to get that's – I mean, just –
where's the upgrade? I mean, nobody that could get an upgrade's leaving their gig for that. Let's just be real. That's not realistic.
Somebody wrote on, and I'm going to bring this up in the well, no, I'll save it for the regular show. But just there was a thing that somebody wrote. I'll just read this one small part of it for this. So far, he has coached 2 seasons at UCF and is 18-7. One season 9-4 beats Florida in a bowl game. Season 2 9-3 made the conference championship. Will play in a bowl game. Like, and you're saying fire this guy? Like,
what more do you want? He took over a program that was deprived of the recruiting riches of the state of Florida when he got here.
Yeah, and
Heupel wasn't recruiting Florida. Yeah, like
got hyped.
And it's not a shot to him because he was recruiting the kids that fit his system, his scheme. But when you're in Florida, you got to recruit the Florida kids. I've always said the best UCF teams were the teams that were, like I mentioned, 75% from Florida, you know, and you go cherry pick those big time players from other schools.
And as a reminder, you're a Georgia kid.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a Georgia kid, and I even know that. Like, I know the talent in Florida, and I'm sitting here, like, I went to a South Florida game the other week, and I'm just like, these kids, I'm like, these kids aren't even rated, and I think they're really good, but there's just so much talent. You can't give everybody 5 stars, 4 stars in Florida. You know, like, you just can't, or everybody would have them. But that's where we went wrong, I think, and that's where you saw more of a steady decline from that 13-0, 12-0, then you start getting 9-4, 8-4. You know, that's what happens. And I don't. Again, that's just another rant. I just can't see. I don't understand why people are calling for Gus's job, because the way you want to build a program, he's building it in the right direction.
And you have ups and downs when you're doing that.
Yes, I mean, look at Alabama now. Nobody's calling for Nick Saban to get fired, and he's lost 2 games.
I'm sure some of their stupid fans are. I'm sure some
of course,
of them
but
are.
like the reasonable fans should not do that, because
right.
You're expected to have down years. Like, yeah, you have Bryce Young at quarterback, but he's throwing. I mean, he has the good running back, but he's throwing to a bunch of freshmen.
Right.
Like, who do you? He's not. Like, it's too much expectation.
College football
for the unreasonable fan. Like, there was an expected drop off from Alabama.
Right. All right. Speaking of drop off, we've taken this much longer than I really wanted to. Although we will have a conversation before this whole Knightline thing is over, Trey, we will have a conversation about all of these things, about all that stuff. I still really want to do that.
Trey gets on his soapbox for
an entire show. It'll be the Trey story. You can start from your time of birth if you would like. This is your life. If you probably don't remember what that was, but anyway.
I remember the time I was born. My mom.
It was very traumatic.
There used to be
very traumatic.
There used to be a show. This is your life, and people would come on and they would have guests like sitting behind a curtain, and the person's voice would go on, and that's Mrs. Smith. She was my second grade teacher. Oh my God, she's here! And then she would walk out. It was a show called This Is Your Life. It was way back in the day. I'm old.
We'll have one of those episodes.
Yeah, I don't know if I can get your second grade teacher, but we will have a story. We will have story time with Trey where we, go through your UCF career in a show.
We can just it'll be talk about everything, whatever.
Yeah, and we'll ask for people to ask some questions that we haven't covered or whatever, and we will have an episode of just that. But we do need to get going with the rest of it, and we need your Tijuana hat,
your prediction,
Tijuana Flats hot take of the week.
First of all, what's the score update?
I can't give that to you. No, because that ruins it for the rest of the show. Because remember, the hot take comes after you. So I will say is you and I are now neck and neck within 2 points of each other.
Oh, my gosh.
Really?
Okay.
Yes. Little preview there, folks, to build the anticipation.
All right, good.
Okay, so for my score, I'm going to take the Knights, of course, but I think this game is going to come down to the wire. I think it'll be 31-27. 31-28. I'm going to go 31-28.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Knights. I think it's going to be close. I think
you're really wanting to give me a heart attack in NOLA, aren't you?
Our freshman kicker is going to make one.
This is going to be the game where we see if there's a game that these guys need to nut up and man up and say, hey, this is who we are. This is going to be it. I think there's going to be adversity. I think this is going to be the game that we're going to see what these guys are made of.
Gus said today all 3 quarterbacks are available. He said today, whoever we have to play.
Let's not go down this rabbit hole.
Whoever we have to play, we're going to play. He said he mentioned all 3 of them. So
Mikey said, hey, we're going to the ship, burn the red shirt. I don't care.
Besides that, yeah. Besides that, he also mentioned Castellanos in there, so he's going to do whatever it takes.
I think I don't know, man.
All right, you guys just heard Trey's brain go crazy there for a second. That sound effect was Trey's brain just like going, whoa, Tommy Castellanos added to this.
Yeah. Well, I expect to see all the
like they were the first game, and he gets hurt. I think you go Tommy just to keep that dynamic of if they're struggling. Though I think if they're passing well and he gets hurt, then you got to go Mikey. But
I expect to see all the stops pulled out in this one. We may see things that we have not seen before, and I expect to see things we haven't seen before. Hell, you may even see a completely different thing.
Oh, you will. That was our conference championship game. It was nothing that we game planned from that first time we played them,
Yeah.
they did absolutely no tendencies of that same thing. It was straight. They took every play that we struggled with throughout the entire season and mixed it in.
Yep.
So we had to call random stuff, and we had
your
practice.
And they had your calls, too. We covered
and they
that
got our
already.
calls, yeah. So
every stop will be pulled. I wouldn't be surprised if they're hitting up ECU like, hey, what was that call sheet you guys had?
Yeah.
You know, that's the game. So
yeah,
they got to be prepared. They got to prepare for everything. So
it'll be interesting for sure.
It's
going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Oh, yeah.
All righty, man. Thank you very much. We will talk
Absolutely.
to you next week. We'll, who knows what we'll be talking about when we talk to you next. Hopefully,
who knows the mood either.
Hopefully, it's a win.
Yep.
All righty. We'll talk to you later. Thank you.
All right. See ya.
If you haven't figured it out yet, I love Tijuana Flats. I would love them even if they weren't a partner with us on the Knightline Sports Network. They have all kinds of great Tex-Mex food, and it's fresh, by the way. Made to order burritos, tacos, enchiladas, chimichangas, quesadillas, bowls, nachos, and taco salads. And if you haven't tried the queso, you are completely missing out. It is the best queso that I've ever had in my life. Absolutely hands down. And the sauce bar that they have, everything from wild to mild in there. Absolutely awesome, awesome stuff. Not only do I love the food at Tijuana Flats, but I love the company, a UCF-born company. And they give back to the community with the Justin Queso Foundation. So head to your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. Hey Jeep Wrangler owners, have you ever sat in your office at work and watched the rain just pour into your Jeep because the weatherman said that there was a 0 chance of rain? Or you put your doors back on because there was a 100% chance and then not a drop of rain fell? Well, there's a company out there that can help take the worry away and give you the peace of mind to be without your doors. The company's called Life Without Doors. They make waterproof rain curtains and dash covers for Wranglers. Life Without Doors is there to help make the decision to leave the doors at home an easy one. Find out more at lifewithoutdoors.com.
Spice up your company with homemade marketing services from Tasty Gravy Creative. Tasty Gravy serves up a menu of budget-friendly marketing, graphic design, and public relations services customized to your specific goals. Co-owned by a UCF graduate, Tasty Gravy can help refresh your brand, strengthen your online presence, or reinforce your company's message. Contact Tasty Gravy for help with your website, social media, marketing, advertising materials, and more. Visit tastygravy.com.
Welcome to this week's pole position.
And this week, we've got some more good news. UCF football has climbed in the rankings. We are now ranked number 22 in the AP poll again, and number 23 in the coaches. Last week, we were not in the coaches. And most importantly for us, the college football playoff, we check in at number 22, while Tulane checks in number 19. So, you know, the supposition is that if we win this week, we should probably be ranked right around 19 or 20, which for us with 3 losses is, as we've mentioned before, is a huge step forward for the brand. UCF volleyball has also climbed 1 position and is ranked number 17 in the RPI this week.
I'm Jeff Allen. Join me each and every week on the Knightline Sports Network for the AAC Report. We bring you in-depth coverage of each school in football, basketball, baseball, softball, soccer, golf, tennis, and more, as well as bring you insider interviews and focus in on the biggest games and news of the week. That's all right here each week on the AAC Report, only on the Knightline Sports Network.
Welcome to the Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. Visit TijuanaFlats.com for takeout or delivery, or visit your local Tijuana Flats. Tex-Mex for everyone. All right, Tijuana Flats Hot Take of the Week. This time, where are we at, Roger? Where are the standings?
Well, so we had a little bit of a shift since we had some extremes this week, not in your position. Just a reminder, final was 46-39. AP, you checked in 21-17 with your prediction. I was 42-28. Ben was 52-10. I was hoping more for Ben's result. And then Trey was 35-14. So what does that do for our points? For the week, Andrew, you were only off a paltry 47 points. Ben was off 35 points this week. Trey was off 36 points this week, so you're still maintaining that close position. And I was off 15 points this week. So what does that mean for the steak dinner? Well, AP, you are comfortably absolved of having to pay for our steak dinner. You check in at 290 points. Ben, after this week, you were at 214. And then Trey and I have moved into a tight battle. So I am at 209 points for the season, and Trey's at 207. So I'm really going to go this week completely out of whack with my prediction so I can avoid steak dinner. So that's where we are.
All right. And what was Trey's pick for this week?
All right. So for this week, Trey checked in with a close game, hard-fought game. He predicted that the score would be 31-28.
Okay. All right. Ben, start us off.
All right. Wrote down a couple minutes ago. While it's tough because I feel like it'll be a little bit lower scoring if JRP doesn't play, a little bit higher scoring if he does. But I'm really worried about this one, guys. But I'm going to say 34-30 was the score I wrote down, trying to kind of split the difference. So 34-30 is my score. Obviously, good guys. Go get another AAC title on our way out.
All righty, Roger.
Well, my gut reaction is to say it's going to be 52-10 this week, just so I avoid the steak dinner. But true to form,
I hope you're right on that one.
I'm actually going to throw out a prediction of my own, and for this week, I'm going to say 38-28 UCF. I still have faith in our defensive line's ability to curtail the attack of Tulane. Tajay Spears is going to be the big factor in that, and I'm hoping that we can contain the edge. Other than that, I still think we're going to go on a scoring frenzy. The Tulane usually plays with a 2 safety set, and if realistically we have Castellanos in play, that tells me Gus is playing to win, and if we have to go with the running game and a running quarterback, I think he'll pull the trigger. So 38-28 for me.
Okay, well, dang it. Man, because it's really tight between a lot of the different picks there. I'm going to say this 38 is kind of stuck in my brain for some reason. So I'm going to say 38-27. Has anybody picked 38-27 yet?
Nope, you are one undering me. So
I'm good
with that. No, I had 38-28. So 38-27 will be the quintessential Price is Right bid.
I didn't really mean to do that, but 38-27. I'm just or 38-34. 38-27. We'll just go with
38-27 it is.
That was kind of what was stuck in my head, so I knew it was close, but I was hoping that I didn't pick something because I wasn't really listening. So.
I'm just hoping no matter how it comes out, everybody's picking a win, that it's either Trey or Ben that is closer to the pin than I am.
Yeah, as long as one of us is right, I mean, or whatever. As long as we win, that's all that matters. I don't even care.
That's all that matters.
I should have just said, I don't care what the score is. I'm just picking UCF to win.
Yeah.
Dang
just win, baby.
I haven't done that yet. Should have. All right. Well, there's still one more that we have after that. So, okay. News and notes is next. And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. All right, congrats to UCF women's basketball, who are now 5-0 after defeating Southeast Missouri State 67-41. That was complete domination. They will next play Sam Houston State Thursday, December 1st at 5 p.m. Let's go.
Keep an eye out for a decision on early college football playoff expansion. The Rose Bowl has been the biggest obstacle in the process in demanding a primary role in the format. They want to keep the Big Ten versus Pac-12, I dated myself there, lineup every 3 years and wants to keep its current New Year's date. Talk about pushy. The decision is expected by the end of this week. Reports are that all the schools have tactically approved or tacitly approved.
There you go.
And just wait for Roger. Roger's got like one line.
Yeah,
it's Redux. It's Redux, Redo, whatever.
Reports are that all of the schools have tacitly approved and are telling the Rose Bowl risks being left out if expansion is pushed out to the end of the current contract. All right, there we go.
Roger had to look that up.
Something about the Rose Bowl trying to mess up an early playoff decision by the guys. Yeah.
Basically, they're telling the Rose Bowl, hey, if you guys
synonyms.
screw with us with this, then you're going to be left out in 2026. So
Roger used his right-click synonyms on this document.
Got his thesaurus rolling. I can't say that word.
My vocabulary is vociferous. We'll just leave it at that.
He looked that one up too.
The fans have definitely showed up this season and earned the Live Ma Student Section of the month this month and are in the running for the Student Section of the Year. Let's keep it going, students, and actually stay for the whole game. Andrew?
Well, yeah, it's not a home game, so all right. Well, anyway. Lastly, we wanted to wish our women's volleyball team luck as they start their journey in the NCAA tournament. It's been a special team with special seniors that will sadly be saying goodbye. The team defeated Houston and finished 27-1. They won a share of the championship of their 5th consecutive title. The team was selected as a 5 seed and will play Harvard, then Penn State if both teams win. Difficult match. Good luck to Coach Dagenet and the team taking on Yale on Friday, December 2nd. December.
I actually wrote that correctly, guys.
Going all back.
So
yeah,
no.
Yeah. December 2nd at 5 p.m. So, yeah, good for them. They have had an incredible season this year.
And heck of a coach. I mean, if you guys don't know Coach Dagenet, you need to, because he has been here a very long time, has built this program, bleeds black and gold, and has had a lot of success. Couldn't be a better person and better representative of UCF. Very, very friendly guy, and will talk to anybody. So, alrighty, there's the music. This has been Knightline 284. I'm Andrew Phegley. And I'm Roger Phipps.
And I'm Ben Stout. Go Knights!
Charge on!
Charge on!
UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. B-S-E-T-O-R-Y. Tonight our knights will shine.